Over 200,000 learners were left stranded after bus operators contracted to the department down tools due to non-payment. Gauteng Education MEC Matome Chilwane says the number of learners in the province is growing at a rapid rate, yet they are not subsidized by Treasury accordingly.
In Gauteng, we get a grant allocation for public school transport. And the grant allocation is small. It's around 1.1 billion. What we pay is around 1.8 to 9 billion to provide this service.
South Africa's anti-corruption efforts continue to hover below the global average, according to Transparency International's latest Corruption Perceptions Index. The index shows South Africa's score has remained unchanged at 41 over the last 3 years. The CPI measures perceived levels of public sector corruption in 182 countries on a scale of 0, representing the highest level of corruption, and 100 representing clean governance. Executive Director at Corruption Watch, Lebogang Ramofoko, says while the country's removal from the Financial Action Task Force grey list and the ongoing inquiries into allegations of corruption within the criminal justice system are encouraging moves, more still needs to be done.
A lot of resources have been spent, both financially and human, in terms of the talent that has basically been at these commissions to uncover what has happened. The latest one being the Madlanga Commission and the ad hoc committee that is looking at what is happening mainly at SAPS, but generally in the criminal justice system. And while those developments are positive, what they do, which is a positive thing, is that they uncover exactly how deep the rot is. But none of the recommendations of the Zondo Commission, which happened quite a number of years ago, have been fully implemented.
Recapping the top story, 4 suspects have been killed in a shootout with police at Amadikwe Informal Settlement in Inanda, north of Durban. The incident took place late last night. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headline, plenty of action to report. The Proteas women on the rise after a strong win over Pakistan. The Proteas men back in action this morning at 7:30 a.m. And Amazulu survive. We'll bring you all the details just before 6:30.
SFM got you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Pretty good start this Wednesday. Just want to draw your attention to Cape Town for a little bit, later this afternoon, but generally all day. There's a couple of really big events underway. The Mining and Dub around CTICC, that's a really popular event. That by itself causes traffic congestion locally through the bottom of the CBD. And then from 3 p.m. this afternoon, another set of major road closures going into the city centre for the third evening of rehearsals for tomorrow's Sona routes like Darling, Bayton, Plain Street, Rowland Street, Commercial, all of those being locked down from 3, just as motorists are trying to get out of Cape Town after a day at work in the city centre. So yesterday was a nightmare. Today, this afternoon, it'll just be busy all day, but we'll go next level this afternoon. Make sure you're planning that. Staying in Cape Town, Franschhoek Pass will be closed again from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. today. That's Villiers-Dorp, Franschhoek, so it's a long way round during that closure. And being a Wednesday, Chapman's Peak Drive will be closed today as well, 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. That closure goes in. Looks okay across Gauteng. No major problems. A lot of breaking down vehicles, but nothing that's really get in the way of anything at this stage. We'll keep an eye on all of that and keep your reports regular and updated as we get through the morning. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8 minutes after 6, today is Wednesday, the 11th of February, 2026. Live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, you're listening to SAFM. The world you're waking up to today is significantly different from what it was when you went to bed a couple of hours ago last night. And that's because key news and current affairs developments here at home, on the continent and around the world world have continued to shape, carve and contour your world with each passing minute. That's why we are here. That's our raison d'etre. That's our reason for existence, to get here bright and early to fully brief you on those developments and events as you start your day. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Morning Brief. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. Among some of what we will cover over the next 3 hours: a citizen of 3 countries he may be, but a foreign spy he insists he is not. In a dramatic day of testimony before Parliament's ad hoc committee probing alleged criminality, corruption and political interference in the country's police service, forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan took center stage, rejecting explosive accusations that have rattled both political and security circles. Facing claims that his multiple citizenships made him or an indicator that he is a quote-unquote foreign agent, O'Sullivan stood before lawmakers and declared his loyalty to South Africa, while insisting he has never engaged in espionage over his 40-year presence in this country. The hearing had been preceded by not entirely unexpected heated comments from O'Sullivan as he made his way into the chamber where the hearing was going to be taking place. He began the day by unleashing criticism of senior police leaders, declaring that people like the National Commissioner Fani Masemola, KwaZulu-Natal Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and others were quote-unquote rogue elements and that they quote-unquote belong in prison, according to Paul O'Sullivan. It was a lengthy day of testimony. He was quizzed on many aspects. And so what we will do is at about 7:20, I'll be in conversation with Darrelyn James. That's the Action SA MP who was part of that hearing, one of those MPs who were probing and posing questions to Paul O'Sullivan, just to get her impressions of the testimony of Paul O'Sullivan and whether, she's getting the answers to the questions that she's had all along about Paul O'Sullivan. So that conversation with Darrelyn James coming up at about 7:20. If education is a vehicle to a brighter future, then the wheels came perilously close to falling off for hundreds of thousands of pupils across Gauteng over the last 2 weeks or so, as subsidized scholar transport ground to a halt and sparked protests across the province. Parents marched on the Premier's office. There were protests in Soweto and a blockading of roads with burning tires in Germiston and Boksburg, decrying a strike that has left learners stranded and their constitutional right to basic education hanging in the balance. The sustained failure by the Gauteng Department of Education to pay transport operators, we are told, for months, is what ignited the anger, with voices including those of the ANC Youth League, grassroots community leaders insisting that children will not be used as collateral in bureaucratic delays. But after intense negotiations, there seems to be a glimmer of hope. The Education MEC in Gauteng, Matume Chilwane, confirming that a breakthrough has been reached, announcing that buses will begin a phased return from Thursday onwards, with full service expected by Monday. As the first vehicles prepare to roll again, the hope among parents and pupils is that those wheels will stay firmly on and that lessons missed will soon be behind them and that there'll be perhaps a way for them to catch up on those lessons missed over the last few days. And we're talking here over 200,000 pupils that were affected by this situation, non-payment of subsidized buses that provide scholar transportation. So we'll have 2 takes on that story. At 7:10, we'll speak to Arnold Rankoko, who is the Gauteng School Bus Operators from the Gauteng School Bus Operators Council. And then we'll speak to Steve Mabona, Gauteng Department of Education spokesperson. Back to back, we'll have those conversations. Lastly, as the court pleases. Well, a legal aid attorney addressing a magistrate's court in isiXhosa did not please the court at all. Did not please that court at all. So much so that the magistrate initiated contempt of court proceedings against the lawyer. But those proceedings did not please the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court, which has now stopped them dead in their tracks, It all began as a routine bail hearing in a small Eastern Cape courtroom, but quickly became a test of language, power, and constitutional principle. A magistrate tried to haul a legal aid lawyer before court for contempt after he addressed her in isiXhosa when she said she could not hear him over a noisy air conditioner. So it all appears to have been, at the heart of it, a misunderstanding. There was a loud air conditioner unit that made it difficult for the magistrate to hear the attorney. So the attorney thought, she can't hear me because she's not understanding what I'm saying. So let me speak in isiXhosa. It seems to really have been one big misunderstanding. But, the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court has now stepped in and firmly overturned those proceedings, delivering a stinging rebuke of how the matter was handled in the magistrate's court. So we'll speak to Bond Nyoka. He's a legal commentator and a loyal, member of the family of the Morning Brief, also an attorney in the Eastern Cape. He will talk to us at about 10 to 7, unpacking all of those dynamics. The Morning Brief team is ready, able and willing to give you all of your updates throughout the 3 hours. And Musa is good to go with your news updates every half hour. Zaikan confirms she's got your sport. Melissa Puta has the Morning Brief in brief coming up in just a moment. And it's all systems go with Ndauling Lechela with your business and economics updates. And we're getting a thumbs up from Sipho Mantula with the Africa update at about 20 to 7 this morning. Your calls, put them through to 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. This is the Morning Brief. Context, consequence, and conversation starting now.
This message is brought to you by Eskom, redefining for a better future.
Hey South Africa, want to keep your lights on and save money? Let's use electricity wisely. It's easier than you think. Switch off lights when you leave a room, unplug chargers and appliances, and use energy-saving bulbs. They last longer and use less power. Every little bit helps for your home, your wallet, and our planet.
Let's make it a habit and use electricity wisely. Eskom.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Maloka, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloka is in the building.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
Somebody who shall remain unnamed for fear of retribution said she's not coming. I'm not coming. I'm off. Look what the cat holding.
Life happens.
Melissa Puta. Let's get straight to it. Let's not dwell on the inconvenience that has occurred. Tell me about President Cyril Ramaphosa talking to his Russian counterpart about the plight of these 17 South Africans who are caught up in that fighting in Ukraine.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. So President Cyril Ramaphosa has spoken with Russian President Vladimir Putin about efforts to secure the return of 17 South African men reportedly fighting alongside Russian forces in the Ukraine. The men, mostly from KwaZulu-Natal, were allegedly lured by promises of lucrative jobs but are now stranded in the war-torn Donbas region. Under South Africa's Foreign Military Assistance Act of 1998, citizens are prohibited from joining foreign militaries without government approval. During the call, Putin briefed Ramaphosa on the Ukraine situation and reaffirmed Russia's commitment to a diplomatic resolution for this issue. Both leaders agreed to support ongoing efforts to repatriate the South Africans, with teams from both countries continuing discussions to finalize the process. They also discussed strengthening bilateral relations, including trade and investment cooperation, as well as collaboration within international platforms such as BRICS and the G20.
Yeah, South Africa is, of course, not the only country dealing with that situation. I saw Kenya also dealing with a number of their nationals also caught up in that situation, having been lured into the fighting in Russia and now trying to come back home. Tell me about this criminal case that has been opened. It all has to do with this incident that was caught on video of this assault on a pupil at Eastwood Secondary School.
Yes, so a criminal case has been opened after a video showing a pupil being assaulted at Eastwood Secondary School in Pietermaritzburg went viral on social media. The incident, filmed by other learners inside a classroom, has raised serious concerns about bullying and school safety. KwaZulu-Natal Education MEC Sipho Hlomuga condemned the violence, saying schools safe spaces for learning. The accused pupil has been suspended as a precaution while investigations by the Department of Education and the South African Police Service continue. Officials and school governing body members have visited the school and police are probing the incident. So this is quite sad given how serious school bullying is.
And lastly, let's talk about rhino poaching. Some promising signs coming through on that front. We're hearing from the Minister, Willie Okamp.
Yes. So South Africa recorded a 16% decrease in rhino poaching in 2025, with 352 rhinos killed compared to the 420 in 2024, according to Minister Willie Okamp. While Mpumalanga was hardest hit, losing 178 rhinos, mostly in the Kruger National Park, KwaZulu-Natal's Hluhlu Mfolazi Park saw a sharp decline in poaching, dropping from 198 to 63 cases. Authorities credited the overall reduction to stronger collaboration, strategic dehorning, advanced surveillance technology, and advanced integrity measures within the park law enforcement. So this is quite good news because this was a crisis once upon a time.
Hopefully we can drive it down even further. Thank you for that, Melissa Puta, with the Morning Brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
20 minutes after 6 on the weather front, there are two warnings from the South African Weather Service. The first one is a yellow level 2 warning, and it is in place over the southern parts of the Free State and KwaZulu-Natal, as well as the southeastern parts of the Northern Cape. That yellow level 2 warning is for severe thunderstorms with heavy downpours, strong damaging winds, large amounts of small hail, and excessive lightning, leading to localized damage to infrastructure, settlements, property, vehicles, livelihood and livestock, as well as localized flooding of susceptible roads, low-lying areas and bridges. Then there's a yellow level 1 warning, and it is in place in places over the southeastern parts of the Eastern Cape, and that yellow level 1 warning is for severe thunderstorms with heavy downpours, strong damaging winds, large amounts of small hail and excessive lightning, leading to localized damage to infrastructure, settlements, property, vehicles, livelihood and livestock, as well as localized flooding of susceptible roads, low-lying areas and bridges. Then the rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria, partly cloudy, 17 to 31. Johannesburg, partly cloudy, 15 to 30. Vereeniging, partly cloudy, 16 to 29. Mbombela will be cloudy at first, otherwise partly cloudy, 20 to 28. Polokwane, partly cloudy, 16 to 28. Mahikeng, partly cloudy, 17 to 32. Bloemfontein will be cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 16 to 28. Kimberley, partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 15 to 30. Uppington, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 20 to 37. Cape Town will be cloudy, becoming partly cloudy from the afternoon, 21 to 30. George will be cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 20 to 25. Gqeberha will be cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 20 to 30. Gumbo City, formerly known as East London, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 21 to 31. Durban will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 22 to 35. Richards Bay will be partly cloudy, 23 to 36. And finally, Pietermaritzburg will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 20 to 35.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news. Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM. Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
Brought Noah Duckett into a studio tonight. She also got a unique opportunity at the beginning of last year, chance to travel to India to go and dance and be a cheerleader.
So the opportunity came around when I was doing My Fair Lady, and I became very good friends with our dance captain, Morgan Marshall. She's also our dance captain on Cats. She had done the IPL the previous year, and she got a message from our team captain, Megan Penter, saying, IPL's coming around, I know you are going to do it again, but one of the girls has been injured and has had to pull out of the contract. Do you know of anyone who would like to audition? Would you be keen to audition? Would you like to do India? And I said, yeah, why not?
Top Sport on SAFM. Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
24 minutes after 6, the French President Emmanuel Macron has indicated that he wants Europe to adopt a more unified and independent approach in engaging Russia, including dialogue with President Vladimir Putin amid ongoing geopolitical tensions linked to the war in Ukraine. Macron's comments suggest a desire for Europe to assert greater strategic autonomy rather than relying solely on US-led or NATO-driven frameworks. This position has wide-ranging implications for global power dynamics, the future of European security, and relations with emerging blocs, for example, such as BRICS, and how countries like ours navigate an increasingly fragmented international order. Let's speak to Oscar van Heerden, a senior research fellow for African diplomacy and leadership at the University of Johannesburg. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. How does this position differ from what we've been observing the European countries to have been doing in the last few months, which has been about asserting their own defense more and more? Macron is talking about a unified and independent approach to engaging Russia, including dialogue with Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, good morning to us and good morning to your listeners. Yeah, no, you're right. It is a different approach. I mean, before there was no talk of wanting to engage with Putin. In fact, the talk in Europe was to try and, as you say, increase their own security defenses and make more money available to President Zelensky and the Ukrainians in order for them to be able to continue the fight. So this is quite a departure from that more harsh military stance, where President Macron is saying, yes, we need to look at what's happening on the battlefield. We need to look at the realities that's taking place. And if we don't engage with Putin, because clearly the interventions from President Trump, from the United States, has not delivered anything successful. It's talk, and I think Macron is saying that perhaps the Europeans must have their own approach to Putin, because ultimately it's quite evident that President Trump has now sort of given this war over to the Europeans and has withdrawn the United States in many respects.
And it's quite significant, isn't it, that this call is being made by France, by Macron, who has been one of the key voices in the until now really dominant strand of the response, which has been sanctions as well as military strength and supporting Ukraine. Him being the one making that call is significant on its own.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it is the strongest indication that the Europeans, and particularly France, is aware that Ukraine is losing this war, NATO is losing this war, and if they don't actually come to some understanding with the Russians, what we might see is further territorial losses within Ukraine, and so on. So I think that it is significant that it's Macron, because the axis has always been Germany, France, the UK, all speaking with the same language of more military might for the Ukrainians and support. But for Macron to now make this break, as I say, it's a clear indication that they are beginning to see the realities. Because for me, Thulas, for the longest time, the Western media and Western governments have simply been lying to themselves about the reality that is taking place in this war in Ukraine. And I think that the sooner it can stop, the better it will be for the Ukrainian people.
And while on that point, I mean, as it drags on, it's now what, 4 to almost 5 years now that it's been ongoing. In fact, 4 years. Are those realities beginning to? Is the penny beginning to drop as far as those realities are concerned, such that there is no other pathway that doesn't involve a level of dialogue, and you don't always get everything you want in a dialogue?
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, for the longest time, President Zelensky has unrealistically been insisting that there will be no territorial losses. He was speaking as if he's in a position to make these demands, which, when you look at what's happening on the ground itself, the battlefield, that's the only thing that matters in any conflict and war. And he was simply not in a position to make those demands. And so I think that his popularity is extremely low. I think the Ukrainian people are beginning to tire for this ongoing destruction and war. And I think that there is enough pressure now. And now with this initiative of Macron, I think it's going to be a wake-up call for Europeans and for European leaders. Because ultimately, even though there is this malarkey and continuous misinformation that war is imminent with the Russians and mainland Europe, the European people themselves are growing tired of this ongoing war and the sapping of resources that can be better spent on them as European citizens.
All right, thank you for your time. And I see that your next appointment is ready for you with your alarm going off there. Oscar van Heerden, Senior Research Fellow for African Diplomacy and Leadership at the University of Johannesburg.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, 4 suspects have been killed in a shootout with police at Amadikwe Informal Settlement in Inanda, north of Durban. The incident took place last night. Police say the 4 men were wanted for cases of murder, attempted murder and robberies. Private investigator Paul O'Sullivan has told Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into concerns of national security that he was motivated to investigate the late police commissioner Jackie Selebi because he believed the country deserved a crime-free police chief. And suspended Ekurhuleni head of legal unit, Advocate Kemi Bihari, testified at the Madlanga Commission that he did not recommend another internal investigation be conducted against suspended EMPD Deputy Police Chief Julius Mkhwanazi. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy run into Joburg this morning, coming in from the Lenasia side. Big traffic on the N12. This is the Potch Highway as you line up through towards the Golden Highway exit. So coming in from Lenasia up towards Eldo's, pretty heavy backlogs being cited through there. Also, heads up, it's a local protest day in the Westdean and Melville side of Joburg. Residents are threatening to block off the main road from now, and all residents out and about from about 7 o'clock this morning. So it is a situation that is going to potentially spiral. Westdean and Melville and surrounds, possibly down at Hurst Hill as well. From memory, last time they did this, can have a major impact on traffic flow through that part of town. We'll keep you up to date with that one. The M1 coming out of Pretoria and out of Joburg. If that's your commute, it looks pretty clear, at least the Pretoria section. R21 to the airport for your early morning flight connections, also fine as well. Durban through Pietermaritzburg, checking okay. At this stage, nothing broken down. Cliffdale and Keyridge, you get a nice good run through there. Cape Town, a heads up if you're in Tableview. This is very important. If you normally come out through sort of Sunridge West Riding, there's roadworks on Gee Road before you get to Bloberg, and then Bloberg Road at Koeberg Road. Those lights are down. That side of Tableview, a big mess already. It's going to force extra traffic up on a Malabongwe, Sandown to the N7, and extra traffic out through Rats and Bloberg down to Bayside. So that'll be heavy out towards Marine Drive and the West Coast Road as well. Tableview will be battling this morning, and a big crash on the N2 inbound just past the R300 interchange before you get to the airport. That's the reason for the big backlogs on the N2 passing Khayelitsha queues back to Baden-Powell Drive. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. I see Protea fire burning through Pakistan and the match that lit it all. Kayla Reneke.
Oh yeah, Thulas, that's the name that's being put into the spotlight this morning, and it is the young Kayla Reyneke, the Proteas woman, setting the tone, strong, clinical against Pakistan, and that momentum now carries into the men's game this morning because we've got action starting from 7:30. But let's celebrate Kayla Reyneke. I mean, she played a decisive role with both ball in the Protea women's 5-wicket win over Pakistan in the first T20 international. All happened in Potchefstroom last night. The 20-year-old struck her first over at senior level, clean bowling for 13, and that was Gul Feroza at the JB Marks Oval before finishing with figures of 2 for 13 at an economy rate of 3.25.
To be honest, no. I think that was quite a debut, dream debut, to be honest. Couldn't have asked for a better debut for my country. I'll always allow myself to feel certain emotions, but I think it was quite special making my debut in South Africa, especially in Potch, because I know I started my S19 journey here. So, it's quite... I honestly don't have words. I think it's just, at a young age, coming into an environment like this, it's a dream come true, to be honest.
More cricket now. The Proteas men, they've made a strong start at the T20 World Cup, but the call is for clutch moments when it matter most. After beating Canada, South Africa now turned their focus to Afghanistan with the first ball at 7:30 this morning. More cricket news. Pakistan claimed a 32-run victory over the United States in their T20 World Cup Group A clash that took place in Colombo yesterday. Closer to home, Vian Mulder start for the Lions with a brisk 115 and another 5-wicket haul, driving them closer to victory in the Cricket South Africa 4-day series against the Tuskers. All happened at Wanderers. The Lions, they piled up 558 for 5 declared after bowling the Tuskers out for 63 by stumps. The visitors were 177 for 7, still trailing by 316 runs. Let's go to soccer action, and it was Thando Welkosi Ngwenya who delivered late heroics as Amazulu edged past Polokwane City with a 2-1 extra time win in the Nedbank Cup round of 32. All happened at the old Peter Mokaba Stadium. Elsewhere, Tottenham were booed off again as Newcastle claimed a win, beating Spurs 2-1 to heap pressure on head coach Thomas Frank. In the meantime, 10-man Everton collapsed in just 8-second half-time minutes. They surrendered a 1-0 lead to lose 2-1 at home to Bournemouth, extending their winless run at Goodison to 6 matches. Chelsea squandered a 2-goal lead to draw 2-2 with Leeds United at Stamford Bridge. And in another match, Benjamin Sesko's stoppage time strike rescued Manchester United as they drew 1-1 with West Ham at the London Stadium. That's your sport on the morning brief. We'll bring it back top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Dowling for the first update of the morning. Dowling, let's start in the United States. Tell me about retail sales. You're saying that they've surprised, but not the kind of surprise that they would have wanted.
That's right, Thulas, and morning to you. Now, December's retail activity cooled, reflecting the impact of higher inflation, tariffs, and severe weather conditions over the holiday period. Overall sales were flat compared with November, and when excluding autos, there was no meaningful growth either. On an annual basis, growth slowed to 2.4%, down from 3.3% the previous month. And zooming in on the print, spending patterns highlight a divide. While higher income consumers continued to shop actively, middle and lower income households pulled back, particularly on big ticket items. Now, some categories fared better, with building materials and garden centers seeing modest gains and online sales holding steady. Economists say the report underscores a K-shaped consumer recovery, where overall economic momentum remains solid, with fourth quarter GDP tracking a healthy pace, but softer spending among many households could weigh on broader growth moving when we start getting the data for 2026.
So, sugar-free or lower sugar fizzy drinks are becoming a thing. They're starting to show even in the numbers. Tell me about Coca-Cola's zero sugar drinks and what they've done for that company.
So health-conscious consumers seem to be boosting demand for Coca-Cola's zero-sugar beverages and Fairlife milk in the U.S. market, helping the company exceed Wall Street expectations for its third quarter earnings that were released overnight. Now, despite a challenging global environment, Coca-Cola maintained its annual sales and profit targets. Affordability, the group says, remains key, with CFO John Murphy highlighting plans to launch cane sugar soda in mini single-serve cans priced under $2 over in the US, and that would be targeting lower-income consumers. Now, the rollout will be phased through this year, limited by cane sugar supply and production capacity. Looking at how the group performed in other markets, unit volumes grew in Europe, the Middle East and Africa, but were flat in Latin America and slightly down in Asia Pacific. Competition and a shift toward regional products in markets like India and China remain ongoing challenges for Coca-Cola.
On the market front, how did we close yesterday and how are we starting the day today?
Kicking things off stateside, markets mostly in the red as investors reacted to weaker than expected retail sales data and grew concerned about the threat AI poses to the financial sector. And with that, we saw the Nasdaq lead the declines, down 0.6%. Trade was mostly in the green back home, fueled by gains in financials and resources, which pushed the all share 0.5% higher by the close. Then over in currency markets, the rand making slight gains this morning. It's trading at 15.88 to the dollar, 21.71 to the pound, and 18.92 to the euro. Oil prices in the meantime remain steady, trading above $68 a barrel. Traders on that front continue to, of course, eye developments between the US and Iran. And then lastly, in Asia, markets mostly in the green today, defying the choppiness we've been seeing in other corners of the globe.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. We'll talk to you in the second hour of the show, just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And for that, we turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. Let's start with news coming out of the investing in African mining Indaba in Cape Town. Sparks flew, we are told, at a closed session with one Minister, Gwede Mantashe, who's not known for holding back. If he thinks it, he's likely to share it with you and let you know his thoughts. And it did exactly that with the DRC minister. And that didn't land so well, did it?
Indeed, Thulasizwe, it didn't land so well as he was Mantashe, the Minister of Mining. In that mining Indaba. But remember, Thulas, yesterday, that mining Indaba is almost 81 years. The first Indaba was 1994 under the theme Stronger Together. This is the 2026 theme. But in a closed session, as you have said, our Minister, Gwede Mantashe, with Kabamba from DRC, they were critical on the question of owning our resources and our minerals. And this is in the back foot of the US and the DRC deal. And that's where there was that tension. But that's also the president of Zambia, who gave the keynote address, also emphasizing to us this narrative that let us build our programs and go to IMF only to support us. And that's what Gwede also are saying, putting Africa first, to say that let's put our interests first so that we don't satisfy the interest of others. And that's where the minister of DRC is saying that actually it is not a one-way stop. The DRC has not sold its minerals for nothing. It is all about its national interest by diversifying its partners, and also saying China has been dominating this purchase of copper in the African continent. So, as we said in a closed session, it was heated to us because it is a ministerial meeting where we have to be honest to one another and say, but is this peace deal or a peace meal on minerals between the US and the DRC? What about the African continent?
Yeah, reporting from Daily Maverick, capturing it as citing sources who were in the meeting, saying that basically Mantashe accused the DRC of selling out, or words to that effect, with that deal with the United States. Speaking of the DRC, its president is in Luanda in Angola, President Felix Tshisekedi, and meeting with President Joao Lorenzo. What has come out from there?
Remember, Thulas, Lorenzo in the AU has been also being, the chair of the AU, and now he has been meeting with the mediators who went to see Museveni last week. Now, this week he asked Tshisekedi to meet also with the mediators of the AU, and the mediators of AU came from the president of Togo and the former president of Nigeria. In that meeting, they were looking at the peace processes of Doha of last year between M23 as well as Rwanda. Now, this meeting, Lorenzo was just emphasizing the issue of the ceasefire, how important it is. You will recall to us last week there was an alleged drone attack in the airport of Kisangani by M23. That's what pushed Lorenzo to call Tshisekedi as well as the mediators to say, how are we implementing the ceasefire between the warring parties in the Eastern DRC?
Why is Madagascar accusing the Kingdom of Eswatini of a grave infringement of its sovereignty?
The DJ, the former president, Rajolina, was around the Kingdom of Eswatini last week to last, and that angered them because it went viral on the images where the former president, Rajolina, was seen alongside King Swati III in the palace. And that's where Randra Narina said that this visit actually is politically unacceptable. It infringes the sovereignty of Madagascar. Eswatini says, but we are just facilitators on regional diplomacy. But if we look to us on the troika of SADC, Eswatini is the deputy to Malawi. So they are looking at Eswatini taking over this year as the chair. So automatically the issue of Madagascar mediation will be in the hands of Eswatini, hence this visit of Rajolina. And that's how Eswatini protects its views. And King Swati, they said, lamenting that that coup to us was not constitutional, it was unconstitutional in their meeting of minds. But Madagascar is not happy with that visit. And this is for the first time since the coup last year to us, we see Rajolina in the media space.
All right, lastly then, Sipho, your historical archives. 2 chapters you want to open for us. The first one is on 11 February 1966, and then the second one, 11 February 2009. What happened?
This one, I hope if the president is listening, he must slot it tomorrow in his sauna. It's 60 years of the forced removals. I think this is the week where we deal from Sophia Town to District 6. District 6 today, there was a forced removal. It used to be known as Canal Dorp. Canal Dorp coming from the word canal, meaning help one another. This was the Group Areas Act, which it moved more than 60,000 people away, and it was designated for the white people only to us. And people were moved to places like Hanover Park and Cape Flats. And in that instance, you will recall that we always say memory, belonging, nostalgia, permits even literary to tell you about District 6. Alex Laguma, Richard Rive, they've written books in the early 60s and late 86. Juma Sikiela Sibongile Khumalo came with a song, District 6. Finally, to us, 2009, 17 years ago, our neighbor, the late Morgan Changarai, was sworn in as a prime minister. You will recall it was that government of national unity after the massaged election to us, and that's where they had to be sharing power between the then MDC under Changarai and Robert Mugabe, the late Robert Mugabe. That's how we look at our historical archive to us. Like I still insist to us, memory, belonging, nostalgia permits us on our archive to always look back and navigate our space. Asante sana Thulas as facilitating the conversation, SFM observing the state of the nation.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula there with the Africa update for this morning.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore. It's who you are. And you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
When music meets nature, something unforgettable happens. Symphony by the Water, a world-class live music experience set against the breathtaking beauty of Midmar Dam, featuring the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra, Spogazi, the Black Lapels, Saturday, the 7th of March, 2026. Day tickets from $150, evening tickets from $350. Tickets available at WebTicket and Pick n Pay. Symphony by the Waters, where sound flows. SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. A reminder about the protest action around the Westbury Melville side of Joburg. 23 days without water, so local residents out on the roads there. Watch for some delays around the main road through that West End Melville area, and possible disruption a little bit further south at Hurst Hill. From a historical point of view, it seems to spill over onto those routes as well. Other hotspots, the N12 in from Lenasia up towards Eldorado Park. Quite heavy backlogs on that N12 towards Joburg this morning. Andrew Petway in and out of Tembisa, going to and from Allendale Road. Between the mall and Allendale Road, there's some quite heavy traffic where there isn't normally on that run through. So Pretoria North, pretty busy. Lavender Road splitting down to Vanderboom Junction or Vanderboom Port towards the crossing area. That's all very slow go as well this morning. Durban through Pietermaritzburg, if you're on that commute, still looking really good through Cliffdale and Key Ridge. You'll get through in good time this morning. Pietermaritzburg up to Howick, also checking fine both directions there. No major problems. And a busy one into Cape Town, a crash on the N1 inbound at the R300. That's heavy from Kraaifontein. A crash on the N2 inbound just by the R300. That's a heavy queue back through Khayelitsha towards Baden-Powell Drive. And if you come out of Tableview towards Refinery, you got the combo of some lane restrictions on Gee Road near Circle Road, and then the lights out as you merge onto Bloberg Road down at Kuberg Road. That side of Tableview very heavy, and you can already see extra traffic exiting towards Marine Drive and towards the N7 on Malabongwe, so those routes busy as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The villains are charging toward the summit with victory firmly in their sights.
There a minute arriving Ollie Watkins, and he's in there. He's 2-0 to Aston Villa, and it's Ollie Watkins with a much-needed goal.
Yet the Seagulls are counting on the power of 3 points to run away from the danger zone.
Ayari into Costulas, brilliantly left Gross! A true Albion legend back on the score sheet in blue and white.
This is the Premier League. Catch Aston Villa versus Brighton and Hove Albion this Wednesday, 11 February at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
At Discovery Health Medical Scheme, we're for health. For health that's always climbing higher.
Look, Mom, no hands.
And with our Smart Saver series, making healthy choices earns your family up to 20,000 Rand extra cover for those day-to-day
Mommy, I fell off.
moments. We're for rewarding health, for growing health, and for your family's best health.
Catch me, Mom.
Like no other. Join Discovery Health Medical Scheme and add your child from 895 Rand per month. Discovery Health Medical Scheme is a registered medical scheme.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
8 minutes to 7. So it all began as a routine bail hearing in a small Eastern Cape courtroom, but quickly became a test of language, power and constitutional principle. A magistrate tried to haul a legal aid lawyer before court for contempt after he addressed her in isiXhosa when she said she could not hear him over a noisy air conditioner. Now the Eastern Cape High Court, the division of the High Court in the Eastern Cape, has firmly stepped in, overturning those proceedings and delivering a stinging rebuke of how the matter was handled. The judgment makes it clear that speaking an official language in circumstances of communication difficulty is not misconduct. let alone contempt. Let's speak to Bond Nyoka, a senior lawyer in the Eastern Cape and also attorney and legal analyst who joins us now for that conversation. Good morning to you, Bond, and thank you for your time. I wouldn't have thought this would have been a debate in 2026, but here we are.
Good morning, Thulas and the SFM family. Thank you very much for the invitation. Yes, this is a typical storm in a teacup that had a bitter taste for everyone. The rationale for the magistrate for referring this matter to the High Court under the premises or purporting to be a special review was that there was contempt of court by the legal practitioner. But the court stung back and said, you only are restricted, you have power in terms of Section 108, subsection 1 of the Magistrate Court Act, under 3 conditions for contempt of court, being willfully insulting a judicial officer, 2, willfully disrupting court proceedings, and willful misbehavior in court. That conduct or interaction or exchange, verbal exchange between them, fell into none of those categories. So therefore, she herself committed gross irregularity. That is where things went sour for her. Furthermore, the court said, you have not observed the Section 35 constitutional rights, often accused in this case, clarifying exactly what the charge was against him, his right to prepare defense, to challenge adduced evidence. And in fact, it was not even concluded because it was interrupted. The exchange was interrupted by lunch hour. And alarmingly, there were no reasons or grounds for referring for a conclusion that the lawyer committed act of misconduct. But then, relevantly, the court said, although there was miscommunication, if you use a foreign indigenous language, it's constitutionally provided, it cannot be an act of misconduct. The court referred to heads of court management decision. They instituted a committee as early as 2003 to look at what language of record can be used in court. Alarmingly, 13 years later, in 2017, they endorsed English as to be regarded as an English, as a language of communication in court. But the right of a litigant, a witness, or even a legal representative to use any language of choice is respected. It's not a privilege, it's a right, as long as there's contemporaneous translation of that language.
Yeah, you talked to it there, actually, Bond. My next question was going to be to ask you to juxtapose what happened in this magistrate's court against English being the language of record in the courts. How does it stack up?
Yeah, you see, Section 6, subsection 2 of the Constitution is clear that those historically diminished indigenous languages, the state, including judiciary in this case, High Court, must take practical and positive measures to elevate the status of those languages. We know historically that English and Dutch, after that, Afrikaans in the Union of South Africa Constitution Act of 1910, and then the Republic of South Africa Constitution of 1961, they enjoyed constitutionally entrenched language equality over and above representation of 80% of the rest of the population of South Africa. So that was an injustice of the past as far as language is concerned. So the court must, including other state organs, take positive steps to use other languages as long as it's practicable. In this particular case, the poor gentleman said, Your Worship, I'm not competent enough to address this point that I want to address. Can I use Xhosa, especially as we cannot hear each other? I'll use the interpreter. That was not willfulness. So he attended to the issue of practicable. If you say, I want to say, Sos Duof Bayach, as the court pleases in Afrikaans, but you say, Your Worship, I want to express this point through the interpreter. Can I use my language, then the Afrikaans, etc.? That addresses the practicability element, because Section 9 says everyone cannot be discriminated against unfairly, including on language basis. So therefore, you can use any language that you can, as long as it is practicable. However, there's no law that says this is language of record in courts. That is only an executive directive.
Yeah.
English is being used as a privilege, not as a right on its own, to the exclusion of other languages.
But it brings back that conversation and, about the elevation and preservation and actually celebration of diversity of language in the courts.
Yes.
How is that playing itself out since that historic first judgment penned entirely in isiXhosa by the then President of the Supreme Court, now Chief Justice Mandisamaya? That was 2022, wasn't it?
Yes, that was the case, and that was not an act of misconduct or contempt of court. As a matter of record or practice, we use English in courts. And then, everyone accepts that it's English. But if you have to ensure justice for a client, you feel you have to press a point strongly. You're allowed to express yourself in Venda or Sotho on that particular point, as long as there's contemporaneous translation. That is what this recommendation is. So to answer your question, it's English that is normally used, but it is not the preferred language or right over other languages. It's just a matter of practice. Okay, let me say. It's not a privilege to use other languages. It's also a right, as long as you can ensure that there's contemporaneous or instant translation. So this elevates the fact that if you are comfortable speaking Xhosa to address the court on a point, feel free to address it in Xhosa. It's there in Section 6 as well as Section 9, equality. One of the values of the Constitution is the achievement of equality. It's a process to achieve that equality, including in the arena of language. Thank you, Thulas.
All right, Bond, thank you for that. I must correct myself. That judgment penned in isiXhosa of the SCA was actually in 2020, not 2022. Thank you for your time this morning. That's Bond Nyoka, attorney and legal analyst, weighing in on something that he describes, and I think rightly so, as one of those storm in a teacup moments. In fact, the High Court goes on to make the point that even the magistrate must have at some point realized that I'm going down a path I should not be going down, hence her stopping the proceedings midstream and referring the proceedings to the High Court under what is termed a special review, with the result that has now been stopped, and affirmation that you can use isiXhosa, as long as there's translation, contemporaneous translation, it's okay to speak one of our other official languages, other than, of course, the language of record being English. 7 a.m. and Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, 4 suspects killed in a shootout with KZN police and shootings at a school and home in Canada. Good morning. 4 suspects have been killed in a shootout with police at Amadikwe informal settlement in Inanda, north of Durban. The incident took place late last night. Police say the 4 men were wanted for cases of murder, attempted murder and robberies. KwaZulu-Natal police in a statement say the suspects were also found in possession of 3 firearms. Forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan has told Parliament's ad hoc committee that he was motivated to investigate the late police commissioner Jackie Selebi because he believed the country deserved a crime-free police chief. The committee is probing allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. O'Sullivan began testifying at the committee yesterday.
I wanted to live in a country where there's a rule of law. I didn't want to live in a country where a chief of police could be so corrupt that he could enter into an agreement that would assist a sitting president to arrest and charge a future possible president, because I felt that was completely wrong.
Suspended Ekurhuleni head of legal unit Advocate Kimi Bihari testified at the Matlanga Commission that he did not recommend another internal investigation be conducted against suspended EMPD Deputy Police Chief Julius Mkhwanazi. He told the Commission statements from the former city manager Dr. Morgan Mashazi suggesting it are untruthful. Bihari, who was responding to questions from Commissioner Sandile Khumalo, concluded his 2-day testimony yesterday.
The engagement with the city manager was that we are addressing certain vague issues in the report as per the letters that we went out. There was, and when she said he has advised chief or whatever, I didn't advise anybody for another internal investigation. I just spoke to the city manager about what were the concerns raised as per our engagements internally. And those are the only issues. I never gave city manager any advice to the extent that we've said there must be another internal investigation.
So she was not truthful in her evidence?
If that is the case, she would have been mistaken or not truthful, but not according to what I gave her.
Johannesburg Water has confirmed workers under the South African Municipal Workers Union who went on strike last Friday are expected back at work following engagements. The water utility previously said the strike was unprotected and was undertaken without legal procedures being followed. Joburg Water spokesperson Nondumiso Mabuza says employees will be returning to their workstations with immediate effect.
Johannesburg Water confirms that following constructive engagement with SAMU, the unprotected strike undertaken from Friday 6 February has officially been ended. Employees agreed to return to their workstations and resume normal operations with immediate effect. Johannesburg Water wishes to apologize to residents, businesses and all communities across the city for the inconvenience caused over the course of the strike.
Further afield, and finally, a shooting at a school and a nearby home in British Columbia has left at least 10 people dead and dozens injured. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police say 6 people were found dead inside a high school in the town of Tumbler Ridge. 2 more people were found dead at a residence believed to be connected to the incident, and another person died on the way to hospital. Police say the shooter was a woman. Recapping the top story, 4 suspects have been killed in a shootout with police at Amadikwe Informal Settlement in Inanda, north of Durban. The incident took place late last night. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
This February, Outsurance's love language is saving you money on your car insurance. Like 35-year-old Becca, who saves an unbelievable 500 Rand on her 2022 VW T-Cross. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Why wait? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports Headlines, cricket action. The Proteas women have powered past Pakistan to keep their World Cup build-up on track. And the Proteas men are back in T20 World Cup action this morning, facing Afghanistan at 7:30. We'll have the details just for you.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. For driving into Joburg from Lenasia, Protea Glen, still quite a big backlog on the N12, moving from Klipsrand Valley up towards Golden Highway exit. N3 North, coming in from Phosphorus, passing Spraykeview up towards Heidelberg Road. Some very heavy traffic there. And the N1 already pretty full between Bayers Nordia and Beclu Interchange. Olifantsfontein, Blue Hills down to the highway. Absolute disaster again. There's a load of traffic lights out in that section of Midrand. Mighty Mob Body Highway queues as far back as Theo Martins this morning. A lot of pressure around Durban, particularly coming along Inanda Road out of Newlands, down through Parlock, Queen Nandi Drive out of Kumashu towards the N2. That's quite heavy. And the Kumashu Highway, the N2, still no traffic lights. Big backlogs on that run through as well. N2 North from top of 20 Hill through to Prospecton. Bit of traffic backlogging on your way to Durban. Cape Town this morning, Bloberg Road, heavy out of Tableview towards the Kuberg Road junction. Lights were down, but they have been restored. But feeding into Bloberg Road, Gee Road has some traffic restrictions near Circle Road, so it's very heavy routing that way. And crash scenes on the N1 inbound at the R300, heavy from Kraaifontein. N2 inbound at the R300, heavy queues past Khayelitsha back to Baden-Powell Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
7 minutes after 7. Welcome to it, the second hour of the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107. Lots of ground to cover in the next half hour, so we'll get straight to it. We'll start off with a conversation around the scholar transport, the subsidized buses being subsidized by the Gauteng Department of Education. That service has been disrupted for at least 2 weeks or thereabouts, much to the chagrin and frustration of many parents. You saw some picketing outside the Premier's office, and also we saw some marching in areas such as Soweto, as well as the area around Germiston, as frustration really peaked during the course of this disruption of the service, because non-payment basically led the bus operators to say we are withdrawing our services. There's now been some kind of a breakthrough, and we'll talk to that in the next few minutes. Arnold Rankoko from the Gauteng School Bus Operators Council will join me, and then I'll be joined by Steve Mabona, who will also be speaking on behalf of the Department of Education in Gauteng. Then immediately after that, we speak to the Action SA MP, Darrell James, reflecting on the testimony by Paul O'Sullivan before the ad hoc committee that is probing the allegations first leveled by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi in July last year. So that conversation coming up at about 7:20 thereabouts. Please put your calls through to 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, or your WhatsApp voice notes and messages to 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The second hour of the Morning Brief on this Wednesday starts now.
BVB's current mission is to stay close to the log leaders and win every match in the second round of the league. Meanwhile, the Carnival Club is eager to reveal their secret plan on match day. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch Borussia Dortmund versus FSV Mainz on Friday, 13 February at 9:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
It's time to say yes to Montreux Jazz Festival, Franschhoek, happening in Franschhoek from the 27th to the 29th of March this year. It's 3 days, 2 stages, the Archers and Jazz Village, and a jazz-inspired multi-genre experience, plus a chilled Sunday slowdown to close, featuring the legendary Salif Keita, Herbie Tswayedi, Andile Yenana, Ayanda Sigate, Sisonke Klonti, Madala Gunene, and Sibusile Xaba, plus Mandisi Jantjis, Billy Munama, Kesevan Naidu, Mos Mohale, Vusi Mahlasela, and more than 20 additional artists still to be announced. This is where Montreux meets Africa. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster or visit mjfsa.com in partnership with the SABC.
Thulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
11 minutes after 7. If education is a vehicle to a brighter future, then the wheels came perilously close to falling off for hundreds of thousands of pupils across Gauteng this past 2 weeks, as subsidized scholar transport ground to a halt sparked protests across the province. Parents marched on the Premier's office. There were marches also in parts of Soweto, and a blockading of roads and burning tires in Germiston and Boksburg, decrying a strike that has left learners stranded and their constitutional right to basic education hanging in the balance. The sustained failure by the Gauteng Department of Education to pay transport operators for months had ignited the anger, with voices from the ANC Youth League to grassroots community leaders insisting that children should not be used as collateral in bureaucratic delays. Let's speak to Paul Zikali, Gauteng School Bus Operators Council Secretary, who joins me now. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. We will talk about the resolution in just a moment and whether or not it is to your satisfaction and will lead to the resumption of services. But tell us what it led to the withdrawal of this critical service that services something in the region of 238,000 pupils across Gauteng.
Good morning to you and the listeners. The primary reason for the stoppage is the non-service providers. Not one issue is being going on.
Mr. I apologize. The line is not great at all. I don't know if you can move around, maybe find a spot where there's better location. Mr. Paul Zikali, Gauteng School Bus Operators Council Secretary, battling a little bit with the line. Let's see if we can pick up and maybe it has improved. You were telling us the reasons that led to you withdrawing the services.
I was saying that the reason why we've withdrawn our services is because of non-payment. And it hasn't been a one-time issue. It has been going on for quite some time. Service providers have had basically to carry the government for over 16 months in the current phase, because every time it's 3 to 4 months we're not getting paid. And as a consequence, people have to obtain funding, obtain loans, and the net impact of that, the accumulative loans and everything else, has brought people to a point where they are now making a loss. They are not able to obtain further loans because banks are no longer trusting our people to be able to sustain those loans, because every time we've got excuses, we cannot pay. So people got to a point where they can't obtain loans. Some had been going to informal guys to obtain loans, and that cripples any business. So the informal side charges with for loans, and people decided that, listen, I'm carried as much as I can. I cannot. And when we all came together, people agreed that, listen, we are not going to risk trying to patch a service that is battling. Let's rather wait until we are paid. And so basically, we reiterate, we are on a service suspension because we have not been paid.
To a parent who doesn't understand the dynamics at play, how would you explain? Is it the case that you wanted to use the fact that, the service you provide links children to their education and therefore, in a way, is critical to the delivery of education? Did you use that as leverage, or was it a case of you were at your wit's end with the frustrations around the non-payment by the department?
We would like to make this categorically clear. If we had wanted to use leverage, we could have done it in November when we sat with the department and they didn't pay us before the examinations. We were as responsible parents, we said we're not going to disrupt examinations. We made plans. People went out and wrote exams. All the levels, they went and wrote exams. And people did it under very difficult circumstances. We had already been in a meeting on the 13th of October with the department, and commitments that were made then were not honored. But we went out there and we made sure that the learners are not disrupted in any way. And for us to stop at this juncture, it's because we cannot proceed any further. That's why people have decided, no, enough is enough. We do not have the money. We also have children that we put through school. We have employees that have got children that they cannot send to school because we have not been paid. And the net impact is that everybody else, from the landlords to everybody else, they are fighting about payments that we are not getting. And because we are not able to service our own creditors, we are in a very difficult position.
Yeah. Lastly, then, confirm for us your understanding of the agreement that you've reached with the department and the resumption of services.
Our understanding is very simple. It's a conditional agreement. The MEC has committed that will be paid by Friday. And our commitment, as it has always been, we are going back to work once we are paid, because all we need is the money. He said by Friday we will be paid. So we said if by Friday he has paid us, there is no reason that keeps us at home. If he has paid by Friday, people will check, and if the money has been paid, we proceed and we start mobilizing. And because of safety, buses have returned back to their depots. Some of the buses have been vandalized in the meantime where they were parked, so people had to move their buses back. Now we're going to have to remobilize, put the buses back, call back the drivers, and get back to work. I mean, for us as business people, it's imperative that we get back to work as soon as possible. We also want to ensure that the learners are back, because we know it's unsafe for learners to be on the streets. We want them back in the classrooms. And we are committed to that.
All right, thank you for that. That's Paul Zikali, Gauteng School Bus Operators Council Secretary. Listening to all of that is the Department of Education spokesperson in Gauteng, Steve Mabona, who joins me now to take that conversation forward. Steve, good morning and thank you for your time. Just from your understanding of the problems, how did we get here? How did we end up with a situation where the bus operators have gone for so long unpaid? Mr. Zikali talks about this being a problem of some 16 months where payment has been intermittent until they got to a point where they said this far and no further. How did we get here?
No, good morning to us and to all our listeners. It's more about the budget cuts that we've been experiencing through the years. And at some point, we had a deficit of over 444 million. So the grant that we receive, it's smaller than what we spend in terms of the transportation of our children. We have informal settlements that are mushrooming, which as a result, we have a number that we need to service, which is more than what we would have budgeted for as per the grant. So that's why, we could not afford to pay some months. Then we had to negotiate with the service providers to say we'll pay them as we have money that is available. So we've been negotiating with Treasury to provide funding, because we'll move from other responsibilities to transportation or nutrition. So we moved because of the challenges that we have.
I sense a resignation on your side, Steve, that says it is impossible now to try and clothe the situation with any dignity or try and put a positive spin on it. I'm sensing that even in your tone, in your voice, and in how you come across in talking about this is the reality of budget cuts. Is that where we are? That you as a department are resigned to the reality that until the situation around austerity and budget cuts changes, some of these realities will be very harsh and they will impact your ability to deliver?
Definitely. I mean, we are expected to cut on a yearly basis. Our budget dwindles. More so our responsibilities don't. Gauteng is quite a dynamic province. You can't compare us with other provinces. I mean, we receive over 100,000 learners, new learners on a yearly basis. But our budget, we are expected to cut. So looking at those, and we've been advocating for more funding, but we are compared as all other provinces. So that's where the problem is. It's more of that budget challenge that we are facing, and it's a difficulty that we are facing.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've undertaken, for example, to make payment by Friday, and that is the condition that will lead to the bus operators returning fully by next week on Monday. Are you able to meet that obligation, that commitment to pay by Friday? And if you are, is it on a sustainable basis, or are you just, doing patchwork such that the buses are back on the road now, but may be disrupted in a couple of months?
No, we did explain our situation to the service providers, and they understand where we are, but also we had to understand from where they are coming from. That's why when we were pushing that they must start today, it was difficult for them to give us that concession, because then they had to go back to their members, to say, you have mandated us to go and negotiate. What are we saying? The department is saying they will pay this week, but is it possible for us to start on Thursday? So they are that it might be difficult for them to start today or even tomorrow. We have to understand that,
but also then, to confirm that this week we should be in a position to pay. But they understand the process of payment. The money might not be in their account this week, but if there's proof that money is uploaded, they then said to us they can go with that to say at least there will be proof that money is uploaded, and they will understand that in government probably it will take 3 or 4 days to appear in their accounts, but that commitment to say it has been uploaded, that should give them a go-ahead to proceed on Monday. So we've been engaging with the Treasury. We have committed that they will give us that allocation so that we can then pay the service providers.
All right. Let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Steve Mabona, spokesperson for the Gauteng Department of Education.
The Sea Robbers are on a real mission to go back to their days of happy people. But Bahlabane Bantwa say they are only going to Orlando Stadium to collect 3 points.
This is the Betway Premiership. Nisekazini forever.
Catch Orlando Pirates versus Marumo Cannons this Saturday, 14 February at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
24 minutes after 7, in a dramatic day of testimony before Parliament's ad hoc committee probing alleged criminality, corruption and political interference in the country's police service, forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan took center stage, rejecting explosive accusations that have rattled both political and security circles, facing claims that his multiple citizenships make him or are proof of him being a foreign agent. O'Sullivan stood before lawmakers and declared his loyalty to South Africa while insisting he has never engaged in espionage over his 40-year presence in the country. The hearing had been preceded by not entirely unexpected heated comments from O'Sullivan as he made his way into the hearing, beginning the day by unleashing criticism on senior police leaders, declaring that figures like the National Commissioner Fani Masemula and KwaZulu-Natal Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi are quote-unquote rogue units who belong in prison. Let's pick up the conversation with the Action SA MP, Darrelyn James. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Just your broad overview. I imagine that over the course of time that you've been sitting and hearing testimony and the name Paul O'Sullivan kept coming up, a set of questions formed in your mind. Just your overall impressions of how far along we went in getting answers to some of the questions you have on day one of Paul O'Sullivan's appearance before your committee.
Good morning and thank you so much for having me. I think you've already expressed how the day went, described it as dramatic, indeed very dramatic, from someone that wasn't prepared to appear before us, wanting to have things go his way the entire day. I think based on what he has told us yesterday, it is quite evident that I'm not sure if this is actually age-related, but there were so many coincidences and there were so many things that just didn't make sense to us yesterday. I don't want to put too much out there because I have a set of questions prepared for him this morning. It is also clear that his statement was very inconsistent with what was said to action to the committee before. He also refused to respond to any allegations that's been leveled against him by previous witnesses. It's almost as if though he's taken this opportunity to come and tell the committee of his success stories. That's what I said yesterday. If you look at his lengthy statement, most of the charges, most of the allegations in there and the things that he wants to bring to the attention of the committee is not specifically, within the scope of what we are mandated to do. It is basically someone that has his own agenda and trying to use this platform to get South Africans to give him a hearing.
But it did answer the question about whether or not he's a foreign agent, as well as the question of having 3 nationalities, 3 passports. Was that to your satisfaction?
Definitely not, and we will be probing that further today. I'm just going to say to you, you just need to keep an eye onto the television, onto the radio today, because I've got some receipts with me that I'll be taking into the house this morning.
And there was then this point about whether or not he's suitably qualified because he was part of the reservists as well as training reservists, including President Cyril Ramaphosa when he signed up, before he was president, when he signed up as a reservist. How does that fit in with trying to unravel the question of criminal interference, infiltration, political interference in the policing system? How does that help us answer that question, whether or not he was suitably qualified to have been, training reservists?
No, definitely he wasn't. So while we don't understand what were the regulations back then, one would obviously have to do some research. But as we know, we only have reservists in the visible and operational environment when it comes to SAPS. So whatever he told us yesterday about being on crime scenes, being part of a fraud unit, being a detective, that is not allowed in the investigation environment within SAPS as things stands today. The best bet yesterday when I said to him, is there anyone that can vouch for this? Is there anyone that can tell us more about your time? He couldn't actually tell us about that. There are also certain discrepancies when it comes to the dates that he has given us, of when he went into the system and when he exited. There's just a lot of things that doesn't make sense at this point in time. But I guess that's where it all started. It started with him being a reservist in SAPS, and that's where he got his fingers into the cookie jar, and things just got completely out of hand. It's also shocking to hear that someone was a group executive of AXA without a matric, without any qualifications. He couldn't respond. There were inconsistencies. 1 minute he's got a degree, next minute he doesn't have any formal qualifications. So I'm not sure where we're at. I specifically asked him yesterday, do you have any degrees? Do you have any qualifications? And he said no. And 5 minutes later, the same question was posed to him and he said yes.
Yeah. So lastly then, Ms. James, the question I have is, there was a palpable and a pent-up tension that already existed before Paul O'Sullivan walked into that room to face you in the ad hoc committee. Someone watching with a different eye might ask, was there a scenario in which you were going to be convinced by what Paul O'Sullivan had to say, given that there was that tension and in some instances and among some parties, an almost palpable hostility? So in other words, I'm asking, are you as MPs checking your own blind spots as to, not being overly hostile to this witness, to the detriment that even in instances, because they say even a dead clock is right twice a day, even in instances where you should be gleaning something and benefiting from his testimony, but such is the tension and hostility towards him. How do you grapple with that critique as it comes?
Well, I think based on what has happened over the past month with the back and forth communication and us basically battling to get him to Parliament, I think that has given rise to where we find ourselves at today, because I think everyone is of the opinion and thinking, what is he trying to hide? And I think also the arrogance, when he just came, you're not allowed to ask me prior a certain date, all of those things. But as I sit there, as Action SA sits there, like everyone else, we know that there's absolutely no holy cows. And in all the statements, there are basically instances and there is information. There's some truth. There's some truth to everyone's statement, and which is evident. Truth to political interference, truth to corruption, truth to the abuse of the slush fund. I mean, Mr. Paul O'Sullivan, in the beginning of his statement, he says the slush fund and the Secret Service, known as the Secret Service account, that is at the root of where we find ourselves today. That is the truth. We've seen it, So it's not to say that we are completely blinded to what he's saying. It's just that there are also many instances. He speaks truth, but he's he's also benefited from that corruption. I'm not sure if you
Gotcha.
understand what I'm trying to say.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time. Darylyn James is Action SAMP. Slightly late for the news headlines. I do apologize. And good morning.
Good morning. In the headlines, private investigator Paul O'Sullivan threatened to withdraw his cooperation from Parliament's ad hoc committee, which is looking into national security concerns. The committee is probing allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. 4 suspects have been killed in a shootout with police, said Amadikwe Informal Settlement in Inanda, south of Durban. The incident took place late last night, and a former police chief from the U.S. state of Florida says he received a call from Donald Trump in 2006 in which the now president told him everyone knew about Jeffrey Epstein's behavior. This is according to an FBI document released in the latest batch of Epstein files. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Update on the Melville protest in Joburg. It's blocking off Main Road. This is the main road through Melville, so between Auckland Park and sort of Bayers Nordia. Just factor in some queuing pressure as you come into that sort of bottom of Melville area. That's where the real pressure is today. The run-in from Lenasia on the N12, all clear until you get to the N1 North up through Divcliff. That's where it gets a bit busy now. N3 and from Spruitview, very heavy. Big queues up towards Heidelberg Road. In from the south, from Clip River Drive through Swakoppies towards Michelle Avenue. That's quite bad as well. N1 South, Rivonia to Winnie Mandela is heavy. Olifantsfontein out of Blue Hills, cross towards the N1 highway. Very heavy backlogs again today. Durban bound, coming out of the south coast area. It looks better than it did earlier on that Prospect and run through. There's a big pile up of traffic on Inanda Road coming down through Parlock towards the N2 today. And Cape Town, Malabongwe Drive out of Tableview towards Dunoon's N7 is heavy. Marine Drive, Tableview to Milnerton through to Pardon Island. A lot of queuing pressure there. And a crash on the N2 inbound just past the R300, still pushing traffic back as far as Baden-Powell Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. So the Proteas women have set the tone and the men go into their next match in the T20, and it's against Afghanistan, is it?
Yeah, that's right, Thulas. It's underway. Strong start for South Africa all round. The women setting the tone with that win over Pakistan. And then we've got the Proteas men underway against Afghanistan this morning. We'll be tracking both as the World Cup picture starts to take shape. But let's talk about the first blood in Potchefstroom, where a star may have been born. South Africa chased down 180 to beat Pakistan by 5 wickets in the opening T20 at the JB Marks Oval, with debutant Kayla Reneker delivering a dream all-round performance. The 20-year-old, she struck with the ball early on, kept her nerve under pressure, finishing the job. She says she leaned on belief.
Yeah, I'm not used to this. But yeah, credit to Dirkie. She said I need to mention her. But yeah, I know I wanted to walk because I thought like maybe my leg was before the wicket, but she was like, yeah, just send it up. I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah.
And from there we go to live action, and that's in the men's tournament. South Africa are batting first against Afghanistan in their T20 clash. Afghanistan won the toss and elected to bowl, with the Proteas looking to build momentum after their strong opening win over Canada. So let's go there live now to the T20 World Cup, where the Proteas are 4 without loss early on against Afghanistan. Aiden Markram opening the scoring. And from there we go to action last night. AmaZulu through to the Nedbank Cup last 16 after a hard-fought 2-1 extra time win over Polokwane City. Usutu struck late through Thando Ngwenya, sealing the result after Polokwane had battled bravely despite being reduced to 10 men. AmaZulu's name now goes into the draw as the cup momentum gains, the competition element and the business side continues. Elsewhere, Manchester United's winning run under Michael Carrick ended with a 1-1 draw away to West Ham overnight. Chelsea dropping points at Stamford Bridge, blowing a 2-goal lead to draw 2-2 with Leeds, denting their Champions League push, and Tottenham slid to 16th after a 2-1 home loss to Newcastle, with pressure continuing to build on coach Thomas Frank. And finally, tennis top seed Iga Swiatek easing into the third round of the WTA 1000 Qatar Open with a 6-love, 6-3 victory over Indonesian wildcard Dennis Chin. That's your sport. We'll be back serving it up. Top of the hour. I'm Zaikan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Hey, Ndauling, good morning to you once again. Let's start with news. Basically, the positive vibes continue, don't they, around the South African economy? We're not shooting the lights out in terms of performance, but certainly in terms of expectation for a semblance of growth. That's been the theme, hasn't it?
That's right, Thulas. You summed it up so well. We are gaining momentum, but hey, we're not shooting the lights out just yet. And lender Standard Bank is saying that South Africa is operating under its most supportive macroeconomic conditions in a decade, a backdrop that could help accelerate long-delayed economic reforms. Now, at the Economic Outlook presentation yesterday, Group Chief Economist Gulam Balam said improved confidence, political stability, and better functioning infrastructure are creating room for the economy to move beyond low-gear growth. Momentum has been helped by a credit rating upgrade, a more settled coalition government, and progress at key SOEs such as Eskom and Transnet. That said, risks remain. Reform fatigue, political disruption from the upcoming local government election, potential political disruption that is, and capacity constraints, particularly around water and logistics, could still slow progress if momentum isn't sustained. Now, looking ahead, Standard Bank estimates the economy to expand by 1.2% in 2025, with growth expected to reach about 1.4% this year. The lender further said growth could accelerate to just over 2% by 2028, levels last seen more than a decade ago.
So not entirely unrelated to the general, IRA vibrations, positive vibrations in the economy. Goldman Sachs expects a wave of M&A activity in our economy.
Now, the bank says deal activity is expected across multiple sectors as the economy benefits from, of course, those structural reforms we were talking about, as well as a commodities boom. Now, mining remains a major focus, with PGM and gold prices rising, further driving deals like the merger we saw between Anglo American and Teck Resources and the spin-off of Valterra Platinum from Anglo. CEO of Goldman Sachs South Africa, Simon Denny, added that the commodity boom should provide a much-needed boost for government and give companies the confidence to invest and pursue mergers. Beyond mining, financial services and property sector are expected to stay active. In digital infrastructure, we saw Vodacom and Vumatel recently struck a deal highlighting growing consolidation in the telecom space. Even the consumer sector is on the M&A radar as companies respond to online gambling and low-cost global competitors such as Shein and Temu.
Lastly, Ndauling, recap for us. Where do we stand in terms of the markets at this hour?
Starting in Asia, stocks are in the green despite deflationary concerns in China. Consumer prices cooled while producer deflation persisted last month. Now, we saw the Hong Kong Hang Seng leading the gains on that front, up 0.4%. Then over on Wall Street, economic data remains in focus as those delayed jobs numbers will be released today. Ahead of that print, futures are in positive territory. And then taking a look at local market action, trade was mostly in the green overnight, leading to the JSE All Share closing 0.5% higher. The upbeat momentum filtered through to the local unit, which is trending firmer this morning at 15.89 to the dollar, 21.71 to the pound, and 18.93 to the euro. Oil prices in the meantime remain steady, trading above $68 a barrel. Traders on that front continue to eye developments between the US and Iran.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. We'll talk again just after 8:30.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
BVB's current mission is to stay close to the log leaders and win every match in the second round of the league. Meanwhile, the Carnival Club is eager to reveal their secret plan on match day. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch Borussia Dortmund versus FSV Mainz on Friday, 13 February at 9:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me start with your voice notes. Naturally, a lot of reaction to the appearance before the ad hoc committee, the appearance by Paul O'Sullivan, but also the conversation we had earlier on with Darylyn James of Action SA.
Good day, Thulas. This is Nati from Cape Town. Thulas, with regard to Mr. O'Sullivan, if anyone in South Africa still doubts the white privilege and what apartheid did, then I guess they didn't listen to Mr. O'Sullivan's testimony. You've got no metric, you've got no qualification whatsoever, but you're heading these companies. You also in contact with MECs who are exacting favors for you. Yeah, ne? Thank you.
Good morning, Thulas. Parliamentarians are part of this mess, this problem that we have with this criminal justice system. Their role is to hold the executive accountable. Their role is for oversight. There's a dereliction of duty that we're talking about here. They must be held accountable because they sleep on the job. Now they want to act as if they know it all and as if they care. They don't care. Thank you.
Good morning, Thulas and the team. Good show as always. Thulas, I can't wait for Paul O'Sullivan to give testimony in the Madlanga Commission where there is decorum. I think he will get a fair grilling there, Thulas, unlike the ad hoc commission where there is a partisan people with the big egos want to prove a point. I think Madlanga, he will get a good grilling. That's my take. Thank you. PK.
PK, so you want him to be Dlangarized. I've heard that there's an expression that says you must be given the Madlanga treatment. All right, thank you for that. Let me take one more on Paul O'Sullivan.
Good morning, Thulas. It's Fugana from Durban. You know, Thulas, they say history does not have blank pages. Thulas, Paul O'Sullivan lied yesterday when he said it was not MI5 or MI6. Because there's an article in 1976 where he's handing over an award to Cyril Ramaphosa. It says Paul O'Sullivan, and it has in bracket MI6 top spy. So he cannot deny that. If he's denying that, he's lying. He should be charged.
Well, he's not really denying it. He says not MI6 or MI5, defense intelligence, military intelligence, and I think there's a bit of a difference there. The one is a domestic service, the other is a foreign service between the MI5s and MI6. I always get them confused, so I won't even venture into that. So think in South Africa, the equivalent, if you're of a certain age, we had NIA and State Security Agency. The State Security Agency being the foreign arm of intelligence near being domestic. I don't know what they're called now. I know that they've reverted back to the separate structures as opposed to one, state security agency. So it's along those lines. He then says he worked for the strand that is known as military intelligence, and there he was involved in counterterrorism and the like. So he's not denying any links to intelligence while in Britain. What he is denying is that in the 40 years that he's been in South Africa, he says he absolutely has not engaged in any espionage activity, has not worked as an agent of any foreign entity, etc. That is his story. So yeah, that subtle difference we are all learning. And I saw Stemso saying he wonders if there'll be a certificate issued for this education that we're getting about the structures, the intelligence structures. But we are all learning that there are different structures, in which a person could potentially serve. I'll take your calls in the next few minutes. I'll start with Vuyo in Cosmo, Ralph, JCK Kaunda, as well as Churchill. Do stand by. Quick traffic update with Rob Byrne, though.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. Urgent alert for Eastern Cape motorists. A couple of things going on. There's some protesting south of Mthatha on the N2, so you will be stopped up there until authorities deal with that. And the Great Fish River, there's a terrific amount of water coming down that river, Cradock area. So bridge crossings, please be careful. I'm looking at one bridge that is completely covered with water. So low-level bridges, or if you're unsure, just be aware of that. Pretty dangerous situations given the rainfall that has fallen in that part of the Eastern Cape and that swollen nature of that Great Fish River of Cradock area, and probably that water moves through very quickly, large volume as well. Coming out of Pretoria, the M1 South, a crash before Stormful, so heavy backlogs coming out from the Montana exit this morning. N1 around Joburg, the Western Bypass, Bayers Nordia up to Ravonia Road, pretty heavy queues, all tight across all lanes. That's a crash on the N1 at Ravonia, which is causing that backlog. Durban's in Under Road, very heavy out of Newlands this morning, big queues down through Parlock on towards the N2 highway. M4 Southern Freeway, chock-a-block, and then the Esplanade very slow. There's some trucks queuing up at the harbour entrance. I guess that's what's causing that problem inbound. So from Umbilo Congela side into city centre, it's pretty heavily backed up. Cape Town, very heavy around the Stellenbosch area. All approaches going in are heavy. And the M5 under pressure today, queuing from Southfield Parkwood all the way up to the N2 highway off-ramp. And lots of traffic on Marine Drive, Sunningdale to Milnerton through to Milner Road as you come into Pardon Island. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The villains are charging toward the summit with victory firmly in their sights.
There a minute arriving, Ollie Watkins, and he's in there. He's 2-0 to Aston Villa, and it's Ollie Watkins with a much-needed goal.
Yet the Seagulls are counting on the power of 3 points to run away from the danger zone.
Ayari into Costello, brilliantly left, Gross! A true Albion legend back on the score sheet in blue and white.
This is the Premier League.
Catch Aston Villa versus Brighton and Hove Albion this Wednesday, 11 February at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right. Very well. How are you, my friend?
Oh, good.
Talk to me.
2 quick points.
Sure.
I was just saying, or commending our politicians. You know, they work so well together when they have one common cause, and yeah, we just want to commend them on that. They were really really cooking O'Sullivan. And then just secondly, I think we really need to come up with some sort of punishment for all that's happening, especially with what's happening ad hoc committee, Madlanga Commission.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think the sentiment right now is that it's going to be the same as the Zondo Commission, where people are going to just go scot-free. So I think in life or anything like that, you know, life is not a closed book test. You just look next door. Look at what China is doing, for example, with their corrupt officials. They quickly hang you, or they quickly get you. You know, they unalive you very quickly, and and everyone falls in line. So I think in South Africa we need to start implementing certain things so that we are sure that these things won't come, because right now we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. I think Mkwanazi did mention that there's a lot more in his statement, but he's just going to hold it there. So imagine what that lot more is, and what else we are still to find out.
Vuyo, would you agree with me in terms of that point about consequence management? Would you agree with me if I said the ultimate consequence management will come from us, the voters, such that if there's no follow through on these processes and we continue to not hold the politicians accountable in the way that we vote and vote for change, we will be endorsing that lack of consequence management. We'll be saying, actually, we like what happened, that there was no follow through from Zondo, no follow through from Madlanga, no follow through from Ad hoc. We'll be endorsing it.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we're in a GNU right now, but we have the laws. There's just no implementation. So I don't know who needs to come into play. Do we now, as the people, need to stand up and say, okay, enough is enough? We're closing roads, we're closing whatever. How do we now say
change, my friend?
We need these routes.
Changes within our grasp changes within our grasp is within our wherewithal. Other democracies exercise their rights. That when they don't like what they see, we know what to do. But until that point, it means we endorse what we see.
Definitely.
All right, Vuyo. Thank you for that. That's Vuyo in Cosmo. Let me go to Ralph in KZN. Good morning to you, Ralph.
Good morning, Mr. Simelane.
Good morning, Baba. Do you have us on? I apologize. Do you have us on hands free? If you don't mind, could you take us off hands free so we can hear you nice and clear?
I will do that just now.
Unless you're driving, of course, which we wouldn't want you to endanger yourself.
Yeah, that is so true again. All what I'm going to say is that I believe Mr. Sullivan's evidence is important for the purpose of this inquiry. But my worry is Mr. Arendse, senior counsel. He appears to be so laid back, appears to be so uninterested in some of these witnesses. He allows a person to go on and on in tangent. And with Paul O'Sullivan, I noticed some kind of a bias, I'm sorry to say. After he testified, he comes on to utter or extend some sympathies. This is for the very first time. Some other witnesses came, they had horrifying experiences, but he never said anything. I'm afraid RN said SC might derail this whole thing. But these other people in the committee have seen it, and I think they reprimanded him enough. He's just, I don't think, he's very interested.
All right. Ralph, thank you for that. And I share your observation around, let me put it this way, a certain tension between the evidence leader, Advocate Arendse, and certain political parties within that committee. You can tell that patience is running thin, and I would say on both sides, and I'll leave it there. Let me go to Churchill in Mthatha. Churchill, good morning to you.
Good morning, Thulas. Thulas, let me start by saying you've hit the nail on the head. I think our biggest problem in this country is politicians. There's just no political will to hold those who are fingered accountable. And I'm hearing one of the callers here talking about the GNU. Unfortunately, the party that is leading the GNU is the ANC. The ANC has been proven. It's at a point of no repair. It's corrupt to the core. Now, if we vote for change, obviously, it's not going to be overnight, but things are going to change. Because with the ANC, I've just lost hope. We've tried our best, but unfortunately, they cannot hold each other accountable. Let me go straight to Paul O'Sullivan. I've been seeing these characters like Paul O'Sullivan. This entitlement, because of white supremacy, he's been there, he's been doing things the way he liked, but now he has even forgotten that, no, things have changed now. And I've seen these characters even with some politicians who are testifying in the ad hoc committee as well as the Zondo Commission. That entitlement, it is what leads us here. And if I were to suggest to us, I don't know where funds are going to come from, because these commissions, these hearings are so expensive. if there could be these probes in each and every department, because there's a lot of shenanigans that are happening here. The institutions are collapsing. There's a lot of rot in our country. I'm telling you, my brother.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Churchill, thank you for calling in. I think I've heard, you're not the first person to make that call that says this should actually be broadened and go to other spheres of government, local government. Various people have made suggestions that you need the Madlanga Commission equivalent of you need a Madlanga Commission equivalent at other spheres of government, at other government entities, so that you thoroughly probe, what's going on there. A lot of what we're seeing now, we did not know about at least a year ago. And look how much we've come to learn, even before any final report is written, just from what people have come up and confessed to, acknowledged, and, admitted to having been part of. There's enough that we know now that we didn't know a year ago, and you can only imagine what's happening in other spheres of government. JCK Kaunda in Musina, good morning to you. You have something completely different on your mind this morning, yeah?
Yeah. Thulas, are you well?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm well. Thulas, guess what? On lighter note, one of your regular caller has been appointed Messina Hospital Board member.
Okay. That is you.
So that's me.
Well done.
So we had, we had what you call a fruitful workshop in Pulukwane.
Yes.
And the MEC Machigo gave us marching orders.
Yeah.
So we are going to better the lives of our patients here in Musina.
That's what we want to hear, JCK. That's what we want to hear. And remember, you are part of this community, so we will hold you to account, eh?
Of course. I know the job goes with responsibility.
Yes. Quickly talk to me about electricity.
Electricity, man, I'm wondering, what is the role of the Competition Commission? Muna, I mean, people are drowning. Where is Competition Commission? Mavanimo, this NASA went to court and they failed, you understand, to increase the tariffs for electricity. And we support BA, which what they are doing to stop NASA or Bagonife to raise the price of electricity. But electricity, it is expensive. How do we know what are done to us?
Yeah, I hear you, JCK.
Please, for better life of the people. People are not waking. People are sleeping with empty stomach. Government, come to your sense. Let me rest the case for now. JCK, Kaunda from Sira.
JCK, thank you. Newly minted board member of Musina Hospital there, representing the community, but will be held to account like everyone else. 8 a.m., let's go straight to N. Musa.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, O'Sullivan back at the ad hoc committee, and Trump reportedly knew about Epstein crimes 20 years ago. Good morning. Private investigator Paul O'Sullivan will today be back at Parliament's ad hoc committee, which is looking into national security concerns. Yesterday, he threatened to withdraw his cooperation from the committee. O'Sullivan has been called to the committee to answer to allegations that, among others, he had infiltrated the criminal justice system at various levels. But some MPs lamented that the first day of O'Sullivan's appearance before the committee was too tedious in not clarifying any of the allegations. O'Sullivan did not have a positive reaction to that.
Am I to understand that instead of coming here to give evidence, I've come here to be interrogated on allegations made against me by criminals? Is that why I'm here? Because if that's why I'm here, I'm going to withdraw my cooperation. I'm not going to assist in a kangaroo court.
The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is expected to continue with testimony relating to the Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Municipality. In the last 2 days, the Commission heard testimony from suspended Ekurhuleni legal head Advocate Kemi Bihari. Bihari has been accused of shielding suspended Deputy Police Chief Julius Mkhwanazi from facing disciplinary action. This was over the unlawful fitting of blue lights in the private vehicles of attempted murder accused Vuzimuzi Cat Matlala. Sibahle Mota reports.
Evidence before the Madlanga Commission has revealed how alleged criminal cartels had infiltrated the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. One such case includes the unlawful fitting of blue lights in the private vehicles of Cat Matlala. Julius Mkhwanazi has also testified how Matlala's private security company assisted the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department with the State of the City address in 2022. Proceedings begin at 9:30 a.m.
4 suspects have been killed in a shootout with police at Amadikwe Informal Settlement in Inanda, north of Durban. The incident took place late last night. Police say the 4 men were wanted for cases of murder, attempted murder and robberies. KwaZulu-Natal police in a statement say the suspects were also found in possession of 3 firearms. The Student Representative Council at the University of the Western Cape says it has reached consensus with the university around the issue of transportation and accommodation for students. The SRC has confirmed engaging with management on the issues it had raised. This includes the signing of outstanding lease agreements with accommodation providers. SRC President Macintosh Kasembe.
We are going to get into a engagement or meetings within this week to finalize shuttle arrangements. This is to now ensure that shuttles across all residences that are off campus are standardized. So everyone has the same number of shuttles. So that's going to be an ongoing engagement. And we've been clear that should these demands not be made, we will not be afraid to mobilize our students again and echo our frustrations. But we're very content with the outcome.
A newly uncovered FBI document suggests President Donald Trump told police about Jeffrey Epstein's behavior in 2006. The document, released in the latest batch of Epstein files, is a written record of a 2019 FBI interview with a former police chief from the U.S. state of Florida. The former head of Palm Beach Police claimed Trump called him after the department launched an investigation into Epstein over alleged sexual exploitation of underage girls. In a statement to the BBC, a Justice Department official said they were not aware of any evidence that the president contacted law enforcement 20 years ago. Here's the BBC's Peter Bowes.
The document is a written record of a 2019 FBI interview with the former police chief in Palm Beach, who claims that Mr. Trump called him after the department launched an investigation into Epstein and said, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." The officer's name is redacted, but the document identifies him as Michael Reiter, who, according to the Miami Herald newspaper, has confirmed that the conversation with Mr. Trump happened in July 2006, when he was the chief of police. The FBI summary of the interview says Mr. Trump told him he'd thrown Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club and that people in New York knew he was disgusting.
Recapping the top story, private investigator Paul O'Sullivan will today be back at Parliament's ad hoc committee, which is looking into national security concerns. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Love is in the air, but without insurance, there could be some awesome car insurance savings for you too. Like 27-year-old Liam, who saves an awesome 640 Rand on his 2020 Ford Ranger. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, the Proteas are motoring in their T20 World Cup clash against Afghanistan 74-1 after just under 9 overs. Quinton de Kock remains unbeaten on 40, with Ryan Rickleton providing strong support on 28. All this and more in your morning brief sport coming up just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Body heavy backlogs on Joburg's N1. It's a crash going north at Rivonia. Traffic park back through William Mandela, back through Malabongwe and back towards Bayers Nordia. All of those routes that feed in, including Bayers, Malabongwe and William Mandela, to get into that highway queue are under pressure. Also a truck crash between Pinehaven and Mouldersdrift if you're on the N14. On your way to Pretoria, heavy backlogs there. And Olifants Fontaine Road, dead still from Blue Hills down towards the N1 highway. It's been a problem with those faulty traffic lights recently. Durban side, in Under Road, coming out from Parlock. That's all eased up. It was heavy in from Newlands early, but it's all eased up. Stationary trucks near the harbour entrance on the Esplanade, so coming in M4 Umbilo onto the Esplanade down into the Durban CBD. It's all very heavy. Heavy pressure as well. N2 northbound through Kumashu up towards the Gateway exit. And Cape Town, there is literally traffic all over town this morning, particularly the highways. Give you an idea of how bad it is. N7 from Dunoon all the way down to Bosmansdam Road is bad. The N1 Kraaifontein, Brackenfell, then Belleville through to Kubo. Get a change. Heavy M5 is backing up from sort of Southfield Parkwood area, and the M3 from Constantia all the way through this morning to Hospital Bend. Also some heavy pressure. N2 outbound approaching the busy Baden-Powell off-ramp. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It is coming up to 9 minutes after 8. Good morning and welcome to it, the third hour of the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107. As I always do, let me start with a few of your messages that have been coming through on the WhatsApp line. That is 0614 104 107. A lot of them have to do with the appearance before the ad hoc committee of Paul O'Sullivan and the interactions with members of parliament. For instance, Soviet in Konge, not Lekhanyan, Soviet, another Soviet in Konge says, "Good morning, Mr. Simelane and family. Did you notice how quiet and disinterested ANC and DA ad hoc members were yesterday? Mostly on their phone, both Ms. Diko and Advocate Breitenbach were noticeably muted. I wonder why. Were they maybe intimidated by O'Sullivan, or does he know things, sensitive things about them? Perhaps they were just tired," says Soviet in Konge. All right, let me go to Sipo, who says, please ask Action SA exactly, was Paul invited to Parliament because he recommended Sibiya to Mashaba? That's the question. And then says, people believe Paul when it comes to Ramaphosa, but don't when he says Mkhwanazi is a criminal. We pick and choose, says Sipo there. And then someone else says, from Strand, or PC from Strand, says, this Paul O'Sullivan must be Madlangarized. Very good. He is lying, it's obvious, says PC from Strand. All right, I battled a little bit with that for just a moment. And then Mohale in Macau wants to talk about the difference between the different arms of intelligence that were being debated during the session yesterday. Mohale says, no, he was specifically asked about MI5 or MI6, to which he denied. Instead, claimed he was rather in the lower ranks of the military intelligence. He even said that there's a difference between MI5 and MI6 and military intelligence, which he wasn't ready to, quote-unquote, give a cause on. Bukhale in Macau. On the same page there, Bukhale, that's what I heard as well, that he didn't say he was in MI5 or MI6, but rather in military intelligence. Lastly, AB says, the ad hoc committee has proven again that politicians lack planning in most of the work they do, but are happy to be seen to be doing something. The level of questioning is below par and not serving anyone but political parties. Parliament could have just adopted the outcomes of Madlanga Commission, agility, and make use of proper resources, says AB. And then why not take Tsiko Khadebe in Putadichaba, who says all those people in Parliament are fast asleep. Reason being, why are they not taking the Constitution out to deal with crime decisively. They are all playing dirty games with voters. Groenewald for president, says Tseko Khatebe. They're ending it with Groenewald for president. Therefore, you follow that line that says, why not take out the constitution to deal with crime decisively, says Tseko in Putadichaba. Your calls 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The third hour of the morning brief starts now.
The Sea Robbers are on a real mission to go back to their days of happy people. But Bahlabane Bantwa say they are only going to Orlando Stadium to collect 3 points.
This is the Betway Premiership. Nisekazini forever.
Catch Orlando Pirates versus Marumo Cannons this Saturday, 14 February at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Alcohol drowns our hope and fuels our pain. Our streets are flooded. Our families are breaking. Women and children are not safe. Alcohol kills 100 people in South Africa every day. For more information, visit www.truecostofalcohol.africa. Increase excise tax on alcohol.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
13 minutes after 8. The city of Tshwane is warning that unusually high water consumption since December is placing significant strain on its water supply network, with key reservoirs in areas such as Soshanguve, Mabopane and Klepgat under pressure. Persistently high demand risks destabilizing the system, we are told, and could lead to broader outages if consumption levels are not reduced. Let's hear more about that. I'm joined by Selby Bukaba, spokesperson of the city of Tshwane. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So explain to us what the issue is. You're saying that unusually high demand since December or thereabouts. What's driving this demand, and what is the effect on your water network?
Good morning, Thulas and the listeners, and thanks for having us. Yes, you've summed it up quite correctly. The problem started in December, and the problem in the main is the high consumption. Rainwater gives us the target that this is the amount of water that you can consume. The permanent target that rainwater has given us, we have exceeded by 32%. The temporary target that they've given us, we have exceeded by 17%. So that is the main problem that we are sitting with. That is why you find that the reservoir levels in Mabopane, in Soshanguve and Klepgat are low. It's as a result of the level of high consumption that we have been experiencing. We are able to provide water, but we are only able to do that to low-lying areas. High-lying areas, we are unable to provide water because you need the levels in the reservoirs to be at a certain level to be able to provide water to high-lying areas.
Maybe I don't understand how these things work, Selby. What's stopping you from filling up those reservoirs? Because the reason I ask that question is that if, by comparison, a city like Joburg, we're told, battles with leaking reservoirs such that you can only fill up to a certain level and cannot exceed that. If you don't have that problem, unless you do, why are you not filling up the reservoirs? Not that it solves the consumption issue, but just from an infrastructure perspective, why can't you fill up your reservoirs?
We are unable to fill up the reservoirs because water comes in and out. As soon as water comes in, it comes out because of high consumption. But also, this is also, I think, compounded by leaks and also by the searing heat that we've been having over the past few weeks.
So these leaks that you're talking about, are they upstream in the sense of within your infrastructure at the reservoir level, or is it downstream, as in the pipes, burst pipes and the likes?
The downstream burst pipes and leaks that are not repaired. I mean, we're sitting with about 32% of what we call non-revenue water, and that as a result of leaks. Now you find in some areas that there would be a leak going on for months because people don't report to us that there is a leak, and we are not aware that there is a leak. And we are losing a lot of water. So we are getting 78% of the water that we get from rainwater. And we are not pointing fingers at rainwater. The problem is that there are certain things that are within the control of the city. And what the city needs to do is for us to intensify disconnecting illegal connections. We need to upgrade our infrastructure. We also need to intensify our leak repair program. That is something that is within the control of the city. What we require from the community is for them to report leaks as and when they see those leaks, and also to drastically reduce consumption, because our consumption is exceedingly high. If you compare ourselves with the Ekurhuleni they've been given a target, but they're consuming less than what they've been allocated, and our consumption level is far higher than the target that's been allocated by Rainbow.
But Selby, the difficulty though is we are all good at diagnosing what the problem is. We all know what is wrong, what is broken. For instance, you ran the figure of non-revenue water by me a couple of minutes ago. That's very much within your control. And saying that we need to intensify our response thereto doesn't earn you any points. You are a government. You should be coming back to us and saying to us, this is how far we've gone with that problem. How far have you gone on fixing, for instance, non-revenue water issues, the leaks and the likes?
We've got a program that we call leak repair program. And I get your critique, which is valid. We just need to make sure that those things that we have diagnosed and we know this is the cause of the problem, we just need to double and redouble our efforts. It's as simple as that. But also to make sure that our communities meet us halfway by reducing consumption. We say to them that do not wash your vehicles using the hose pipe. Do not irrigate your gardens between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. And people are just ignoring our messages. Now, to answer your question is, what are we doing about it? We should be going there to disconnect them. We should be able to implement the bylaws and issue fines to those that are contravening, for instance, the level 1 restrictions, which prohibit you from doing a number of things within certain hours. But we are not doing all of those things. And you are quite correct. This is something that is within our control, but we are not doing it.
Sure. So what are we to do then, Selby? If you are not doing what you are supposed to be doing, we put you in power for you to be, you're the government. You should be governing. If you're not governing, what are you telling residents of Tshwane to do?
Well, Thulas, we need to implement the carrot and stick approach, where we go and disconnect. We know, somebody was telling me yesterday that they're receiving water, but they don't pay for that water because they're connected illegally. Now it is for us to intensify those kind of programs where we go and disconnect, fix the leaks, and make sure that we upgrade our infrastructure. Now, upgrading of infrastructure is a challenge. It's a challenge because we've got some people who are not paying for the services that they receive. And some of this infrastructure that we have is aging. Now, you need billions of rand that needs to be pumped to be able to improve that aging infrastructure. So there are two things. But in the main, also, we need our communities to reduce consumption. The number of time that you spend on the shower, reduce it. Reduce, check your property if there are leaks. That is within the purview of the residents. That is beyond us.
Because Selby,
what is within our control, you are quite correct. We need to make sure that we do our part.
Because one of our listeners listening to this conversation is calling you out and saying Selby is being untruthful. The city takes on average 5 days to respond to reports of burst meter or pipes, and you need to be following up too many times for them to respond.
And Tulas, that person is correct, because I, for one, get people who say to me, we have reported this matter 2 months ago, and once it is escalated to me, I give to my colleagues. Some of my colleagues even ignore me when I tell them this. And then I go directly to the mayor, and when the mayor tells them to do it, they do it. So yes, some of these problems are self-inflicted. Some communities do inform us of leaks, and we don't respond. And that's the reality.
Should we not be naming and shaming these people within the system that are letting people down, Selby? Because clearly it's antithesis to what you are seeking to achieve as a city. Which people and which departments are largely responsible for letting people down?
You see, Tulas, it becomes a credibility crisis, because I come on air and I tell you of things that we need to do. Somebody calls me out, and this person is telling the truth. And I know the truth because I, for one, go and report, and I get ignored by my very own colleagues. And I escalate to the mayor. And when the mayor puts a foot down, that's when people act. And it is that mentality that we need to change among civil servants. That when you get a call or a complaint or that there is a leak in a certain area, go and act on that leak and save the city water. Because Rand Water, at the end of the day, they're going to invoice us. They don't care whether our consumption was as a result of a leak or whatnot. They invoice us in terms of consumption. So these are things that are within our control, but we're not doing anything.
All right, Selby, hold on a second. I want to take a call from Tabiso in Polokwane. Good morning to you, Tabiso.
Good morning, Tulas. I'm actually quite very disappointed in the manner of answering of Selby. He spoke most of the things that, if you remember quite very well, some years ago, when Nomvula was still the minister, he would have said the same thing. And many ministers have said the same thing. We must not use baths, we must shower, and all of that. And I'm talking yes and yes ago. But now, to say we should, what is it that is being done on the ground? I think that is critical. People do not have water. You are telling them that they must report leaks. They are doing that. There is no response. You are telling them that we should respond in this particular manner. Who should do that? Because it's representing the city. The city is the one that should be making sure that at the end of the day, as we are talking to us, they are on the ground in making sure that those leaks that are there are being dealt with. On the basic issues of saying that, people must not water gardens in the morning and all of that. Yes, of course. Those are campaigns that they can run in terms of making sure that our people are well and aware. And they are actually being aware. But they are saying, we don't have water. We're queuing to water tanks as we're talking. We don't have to come bath. You can't go to toilet. What is it that is being done as we're speaking? Here are the workers of the city on the ground as we're speaking, trying to fix the issue.
Tabiso, thank you for that. Selby, parting shot from you.
Yes, we are trying to mitigate the water challenge by dispatching water tankers, but this is not what people want. People want to see water flowing out of their taps, and from our side, we commit that we will fix leaks on time. We will strive to upgrade our infrastructure. We will intensify the leak repair program, and we will also intensify disconnecting those illegal connections. But we need our communities to also meet us halfway by drastically reducing consumption.
All right, Selby, thank you for talking to me this morning. That's Selby Bukaba, spokesperson of the city of Tshwane there, talking about various issues to do with water management in the city.
In life's most challenging moments of loss, compassion can be your greatest comfort. You shouldn't have to face the financial burden of losing a loved one by yourself. Rest assured, Clientele's funeral plans pay out cash within 24 hours. You can cover up to 13 family members on one plan, ensuring all your loved ones are taken care of, and 3 children are covered at no additional cost. With Clientele, you are not just buying a plan, you are also buying peace of mind. When the time comes, you will need to make important calls with your 200 Rand airtime you will receive when you claim. Plans offer double accidental death cover as well as a transport, grocery and unveiling benefit. Apply today, it's easy. There are no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
It's time to say yes to Montreux Jazz Festival, Franschhoek, happening in Franschhoek from the 27th to the 29th of March 2026. It's 3 days, 2 stages, the Archers and Jazz Village, and a jazz-inspired multi-genre experience, plus a chilled Sunday slowdown to close. Featuring the legendary Salif Keita, Herbie Tswaedi, Andile Yenana, Ayanda Sigate, Sisonke Xonti, Madala Gunene, and Sibusile Xaba, plus Mandisi Tyantyis, Billy Monama, Kesevan Naidu, Mos Mokhale, Vusi Mahlasela, and more than 20 additional artists still to be announced. This is where Montreux meets Africa. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster or visit mjfsa.com in partnership with the SABC.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me take a call from Soli Msimanga. Good morning to you, Soli.
Good morning, Thulas. Hope you're well. And
very well.
Yeah, Thulas, I'm disturbed. You know, Selby is a friend of mine, and yeah, he has to do what he has to do.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, yeah. When we were in government, we had put together an increased amount in terms of preventative maintenance budget so that we're able to then start doing pipe replacement. We had started looking at fixing the meters. I mean, we were being fought in Mabopane, Soshanguve, when we wanted to start, fixing meters because we wanted to avoid the issues of people using water and not paying for it where they can pay. We wanted to then start rolling out in informal settlements, piped water instead of relying on JoJo tanks. And this is things that, needed to be done and still needs to be done in order to curb the wastage of water and also to make sure that you are able to, manage, the budgets in terms of what you now need to then pay rainwater. You know exactly where the water is going. Now, for somebody to come on air and blame residents, I think that it's very much, unfair. While residents have heed to the call of, reducing the usage of water. And by the way, we don't have a shortage of water in Gauteng. We don't have. If you go and look at our dam levels, if you go and look at the Vaal River system, we are fine. The issue is what happens once the water leaves rainwater and then comes into the municipality.
Yeah.
Gauteng municipalities at this point in time are losing half of, more than half actually, of, their water. And it has to do with unmaintained infrastructure. It has to do with meters that are not properly functioning, at the end. It has to do with the pressure pumps that now needs to be maintained and fixed so that you can then pump more water into high-lying reservoirs so that in areas that are high-lying, you're able to then pump more water. You can go to Atteridgefield, you'd find that one part of Atteridgefield is able to get water, another part is not able to get water because they use different reservoirs. Yeah. One reservoir is at the lower level, one reservoir is at the higher level, and it affects areas like Clodium. You go to Joburg, Fortsberg, and all of these areas, you find that as well. So for residents to be blamed for this, I think it's very much unfair. They must come and answer what is happening in terms of the maintenance budget that they are putting in place. Have they reduced the maintenance budget in order to pump up now more money towards water tankers, which is not sustainable? Have they now, talked about an integrated infrastructure master plan? These are things that they need to respond to.
Soli, it's easy giving commentary from the sidelines, right? But as you alluded, you were in government at a certain point, and I'd like you to respond to this short and sharp, if you don't mind. What are the concrete deliverables that you can point to, specifically on the issue of non-revenue water, the water that is lost in the system, because it was a problem even when you were in government? What did you put in place? How far did you go in the time that you ran the city?
I want you to go to Pretoria North. I want you to go to Mabopane and Soshanguve Outland BB. Go and look at the pipelines that have been installed, and we installed those pipelines because we understood that this is a problem, not only the problem for the people of Soshanguve, but also going towards the Skampaneng area and the surrounding areas. And this is something that we had started, putting together. Yeah. The old asbestos pipes that were there in Pretoria North, going from Amanda Sech and those areas had already been replaced. So we had started working on those. So this is what I'm saying. These are concrete steps that can be taken. But also, you now need to then also ensure that every household has a meter that is working and that you're able to then account for each and every liter of electricity.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you for calling in. That's Soli Msimanga, leader of the DA in Gauteng. Let me go straight to N. Musa.
Good morning. Thanks to Las. In the headlines, Johannesburg is currently facing significant water outages, with many residents experiencing disruptions for over 2 weeks due to infrastructure failure. Residents from several areas, including Melville, Brixton and Parktown West, are staging protests over the ongoing water outages and a lack of communication from Joburg Water and Rand Water. Private investigator Paul O'Sullivan will today be back at Parliament's ad hoc committee, which is looking into national security concerns. Yesterday, he threatened to withdraw his cooperation from the committee. And two awaiting trial prisoners, including a well-known musician, will appear at the Polokwane Magistrates Court in Limpopo after they were found in possession of illegal drugs and other prohibited items at the Polokwane prison. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Second crash today on the M1 North in Joburg at Ravonia Road. Very heavy, the result of traffic backlogging to Beyers Nordier. So from Randburg up to Sunninghill, absolutely hitting all the routes that feed in. Beyers Nordier, Malabongwe, Winnie Mandela, all under pressure trying to get into that heavy N1 North. Truck crash between Pinehaven and Muldersdrift, the N14 leaving Krugersdorp up through that Pinehaven interchange. Very heavy. The right lane is closed at that scene. And quite a heavy backlog into Sandton this morning on the Mike 1 from Buccleuch all the way down through Greyston Drive on towards the Corlett Drive exit. Crossing to Durban, the N2 North is a bit of a mission to work through. Lots going on there. There's the slowdown on the N2 into Westwood Mall through Spaghetti Junction. Then it gets heavy shortly after Westwood Mall as you queue to a crash before Queen Lundy Drive. That's a long queue. That's also having an impact on the southbound side. And then a breakdown between Kwamashu and Gateway going north. That's your third queue this morning. If you're coming off the south coast and you want to get flight connections, just at this stage, it's very busy. The N3 from Hilton going down into Pietermaritzburg, breakdown this morning just before Town Hill. So that's quite slow. And Cape Town, it's just a heavy Wednesday. This traffic is all over. The show M3 from Constantia to the Hospital Bend. M5's deep into Kenilworth territory. N2 Airport to Hospital Bend. And the N1 inbound still very slow, basically from Brackenfell right through to the city centre. The byroads also very heavy as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. So Protea fire continues, or at least in the early stages, the Proteas versus Afghanistan. You're saying that they are firing on all cylinders.
Absolutely, Thulas. They are firing, they are flying. I don't know if Afghanistan might want to check if they packed enough oxygen for this, because South Africa are now 131 for 3 after 14 overs, cruising along at better than 9 and over in this T20 World Cup clash. So they're building strongly at the drinks break. The Proteas are looking to, dominate here after Afghanistan won the toss and chose to bowl. Quinton de Kock providing the backbone at the top of the order, while Ryan Rickleton also made a valuable contribution. At the crease now are Deval Brevis and David Miller, with South Africa well positioned to push hard in the final 6 overs. This is match 13 of the group stage. And as always, you can keep it locked on SAFM, where we'll continue with our updates. From there, we head to soccer news. Kaizer Chiefs are 1 point away from the CAF Confed Cup quarterfinals as they head to face Zamalek to Egypt this weekend. Amakosi only need to avoid defeat to progress, with football manager Bobby Motaung saying the timing of their renewed Carling Black Label partnership couldn't be better for belief and momentum. Chiefs top their group, and they know a disciplined performance in Cairo could send them through to the knockout stage. Rugby now, as Rassie Erasmus sharpens his focus for the 2026 season. The Springbok fly half race is wide open. Sasha Feinberg, Ingomezulu, is growing into a commanding leader at the Stormers, while Henry Pollard is rediscovering his edge at the Bulls. Jordan Hendrickse is making noise at the Sharks, and Chris Smith offering reliability, with Mani Libbok remains the X factor abroad. Now, New Zealand Rugby are searching for a new All Blacks head coach after the shock dismissal of Scott Robertson. Leading the shortlist are Dave Rennie and Jamie Joseph, both with strong international pedigree. Former World Cup winning coach Steve Hansen could return in a senior oversight role While Vern Cotter has ruled himself out, with the 2027 World Cup looming, New Zealand are under pressure to get the call right. And finally, from World Cup tries to new fairways, the Springbok legend Brian Abana continues to evolve around the rugby field. The former Bok winger is now playing a key ambassador role in Live Golf, with the global tour set to land in South Africa next month. Here's Brian Abana.
So I think for Live Golf SA, we've already seen 70,000 tickets have been sold for the 4 days. You get to play at a golf course that's going to be in spectacular nick. It's going to be challenging because if you hit the ball long, you might not have to have your driver out. So the likes of Bryson DeChambeau or John Rahm might not be able to have their drivers out on every hole, but it will have normal South Africans potentially touching sides with their heroes. And in so doing, hopefully inspire a new generation of golfers. But over and above that element, I think the family side of Live Golf has been something that I've witnessed from afar and been absolutely blown away by. So there's some great music acts that we know is going to be in town, but I think the ability to bring kids for free, it's just absolutely wonderful. So South Africa can expect a massive party. They can expect to touch hands with some of the best golfers in the world, and they can expect Live to not only be put on the map, but South Africa to be the icon that hopefully overtakes how big Adelaide is.
That's the former Springbok Brian Abana reflecting on life after rugby and the evolving world of Live Golf. We'll keep tracking the stories that shape the game with more sport with John Gericke at around 12:30. I'm Sai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
All right, let's turn to Ndauling once again for another update. Ndauling, it's only proper and fair and apt that I should disclose that I previously worked for the company you are about to mention in your story, Harith. Harith has acquired Fly South Air. Tell us about it. Yeah.
So South Africa's largest low-cost airline, Fly South Air, set for a change in ownership to Thulasizwe investor Harith struck a deal to acquire the carrier. Now, Harith will take full control of the airline through its aviation arm. The purchase price, however, has not been disclosed. Now, the firm says the acquisition supports its broader strategy of strengthening transport and connectivity across Africa and reflects confidence in Fly South Air's business model and management team, with no immediate operational changes planned. Now, the move marks the third time Harith has shown interest in the airline sector. In 2021, Harith was part of the Dakadzo consortium aiming to buy a 51% stake in SAA, but that deal fell through when government ended negotiations. If my memory serves me correct, the firm also explored investing in ComAir, but that plan ended after ComAir collapsed and entered provisional liquidation around 2022. Commenting on the deal, Fly South Air says it remains focused on providing affordable, reliable air travel as the process unfolds. The transaction, in the meantime, is still subject to approval from competition authorities and aviation regulators.
All right, let's talk government fleet. You hear people complaining about government vehicles being spotted in corners where they're not supposed to be spotted, shopping malls, carry bags and doing school run, etc. Tell me about Power Fleet and this deal to track government vehicles.
So maybe this deal will assist in that, right? The US and JSE... Just maybe. The US and JSE listed vehicle tracking and software group Power Fleet has signed a contract with government to provide AI-powered video tracking for thousands of vehicles in partnership with MTN. Now, the phased rollout is expected to begin in the second half of next year. Power Fleet's Unity platform turns data from vehicles, sensors, and operations into a single, easy-to-use dashboard. The MTN partnership gives the company the connectivity and infrastructure needed to scale this nationwide, while MTN will also white label the platform for its own business customers. Power Fleet's CEO, Steve Towe, said the deal could become one of the largest in the company's history, generating recurring software and services revenue and laying the foundation for long-term analytics projects. The company has already attracted global clients like Caterpillar and PepsiCo using its Unity platform.
Lastly, Ndauling, what kind of a trading day can we expect in the markets today?
Local markets likely to open in positive territory following global peers. Another slow local news day, so investors will be eyeing international developments. Meanwhile, in currency markets, the rand is stable but losing some momentum this hour at 15.19 to the dollar, 21.74 to the pound, and 18.95 to the euro. Oil also stable this morning, trading at $68 a barrel. Investors remain wary, eyeing geopolitical tensions playing out between the US and Iran. And then back to equities, US futures in the green today, with markets upbeat ahead of the non-farm payrolls, which will give us a greater insight on how the labor market over in the US is doing. Stocks over in Asia trending higher, and this despite deflationary concerns in China.
All right, Ntauling, thank you for today. That's Ntauling Lechela, having kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets. You know, the issues that affect your pocket, where money is made and where money is lost throughout the 3 hours.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
All right, let me take one or two of your voice notes. Let's see now. A lot of reaction, of course, to the water story, by the way, that we were talking to Selby Bukaba about in the last few minutes in the city of Tshwane. A lot of people sending messages. In fact, let me read a message before I play a voice note. This is from someone who didn't sign it, who says, "We are told to report water leaks, potholes, crime, etc. I guess because those who have a responsibility of fixing these things live on Jupiter. High mast and street lights are switched on 24 hours in Ekurhuleni, and it's business as usual. Pre-COVID to date, it's only government employees who are surprised. I think it's called the Cyril virus." Surprised by it all. All right, let me play a voice note also to do with this reporting water leaks.
Morning, Thulas. I'm just laughing when that water guy is talking that we need to report leaks. What it doesn't tell you is that if you report a leak on Monday, they will only come on Saturday or Sunday to fix it so they can get overtime, double time. That's a fact. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That means we just can't win, can we? We just can't catch a break, can we? They say report, and then people find a way of stalling so that there's overtime that is earned when they now fix it on a Sunday or over the weekend. I'll come back to your calls and voice notes a bit later on.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
So tomorrow, President Cyril Ramaphosa will take to the podium in Parliament to deliver the 2026 State of the Nation address. Ahead of that, there's an opinion piece that has been published by authors, including my next guest, Liso Mdutyana, a tax and budget policy researcher at the Institute for Economic Justice. And in that opinion piece, they argue that while economic indicators like GDP growth and public finances have shown modest improvement, these gains have not translated into meaningful job creation, reduced poverty, or improved living conditions for most South Africans. They stress that the improved economic conditions should be treated as a launchpad for deeper, inclusive structural change rather than an end point. As I said, Liso Mdutyana joins me now to take that conversation forward. Liso, good morning and thank you for your time. So just as a starting point, your assessment of these measures around the economy, are we imagining it, or are we starting to see a modest turnaround and perhaps even a growth that at this point is still at very low levels, but a growth nonetheless?
Thank you so much, Puti, for having me. So, in fact, we are seeing some improvement. These are true. So we see it, for example, in what are called our network industries. So energy, electricity. We see it with freight rail. We see it with ports. And these are areas that are, of course, dominated by state-owned enterprises, which we know in the past decade have performed rather terribly. But, there were significant gains made in the availability of the electricity. So most of the country, for example, escaped load shedding for much of 2025. Transnet reported that their rail volumes were higher than what was there in the previous period. And we see an improved performance even with the ports, which again had been performing at less than the level that is desired in the previous year. So these are actual gains we have seen in the year. Even GDP, the projection for GDP, stayed, you could say, relatively resilient, even despite the United States threatening South Africa with increased in tariff, threatening not to renew South Africa's participation in AGOA. So, in fact, these are not imagined. We are seeing them play out in real time.
So where does the disconnect then come in between those measures and indicators you just outlined and others, and the lived realities of South Africans on a day-to-day basis?
So as we put it, our country has been starved of economic growth so much in the last 10 years that I think we are willing to take any kind of growth, but that shouldn't really be the case, because at the end we want the kind of economic growth and economic development that is, for example, led by the kinds of industries that will require workers, so that we are able to make a dent on the poverty, on the unemployment. So, for example, despite these modest improvements, for example, in logistics and energy, we find that the average South African is poorer in 2026 than in 2010. We find, for example, that despite these improvements, the unemployment rate only decreased by 0.2 percentage points, which means there's still over 12 million people that are unemployed. So despite then these positive outlooks with regards to public finances, with regards to infrastructure, they have not necessarily translated into a better standard of living for most South Africans.
So for the last while, the focus has been on structural reforms to get the economy growing. You are now talking about structural economic transformation. What do you mean by that? And how does that relate to, issues such as a state-led industrial policy and the likes that you would like to see coming out of the State of the Nation address?
So, again, growth is nice. It provides a wonderful base. But in some sense, the kind of growth that South Africa has experienced even in previous decades has kind of set a ceiling on how far the country can actually transform. So what we mean by that is that, for example, what the sectors that dominate in the economy, what are they? It's finance, it's mining, it's agriculture. The first thing is that those sectors by themselves are not very labor absorbing. And what we mean by that is that even when they do grow at a faster pace, for example, they will not absorb enough workers or enough labor to decrease the unemployment rate of South Africa, maybe to 5%. And even still, when you think about a sector like mining or agriculture, a large part of their demand, they depend on global commodity prices. So the prices that are set due to demand or supply elsewhere in the world. And this means that the state doesn't really have much control over, how you can use this sector to transform the country, because at the end of the day, commodity prices could go down, and then it means those sectors stagnate and are not able to transform the economy in a way that is needed. What we want rather, for example, is that the economy is centered around the manufacturing sector. Now, we know from the experiences of the development everywhere in the world that the manufacturing sector has been the key driver of the economy, because, first of all, the manufacturing sector, you are able to take natural resources that you are endowed as a country, you are able to put them into manufacturing as the inputs. You are also able to produce in the manufacturing sector outputs that will then go to other processes like construction, like building. So the kind of growth that we have experienced is one which the state has not really tried to direct economic activity as much as it should. Now, this doesn't mean that, for example, the state must own everything, but it should definitely be directing the economic activity towards the industries and the sectors which present the most opportunity for dynamic growth in South Africa, the kind of growth that will be in excess of 6% and the kind of growth that can take in a lot of workers so that you can really make a good reduction with unemployment rate.
All right, Liso, thank you for sharing those insights with us this morning. That's Liso Mtukiana, Tax and Budget Policy Researcher at the Institute for Economic Justice, the IEJ.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very heavy on Joburg's M1 North. There's been a couple of collisions earlier this morning, both happening around Rivonia Road. One is still there, one of the two, the last still to be cleared up. So it's heavy coming from Randburg, from Beyers Nordia, up through Malabongwe, through Winnie Mandela, and up towards that Sunning Hill exit. Also, the Mike one's very heavy today from Woodmead all the way down through Sandton towards Corlett Drive. Before you're out of that, top end of the N3, queuing up into Buccleuch interchange, and the N1 South crashed just at Allendale Road, so coming from New Road, that is quite slow going now. Collision on the N14, the Krugersdorp Highway between Pretoria West R55 exit and the Brockfontein interchange. If you're on your way up towards Pretoria, some queuing pressure to work through there. And the N1 South from Linwood Road down to Rigel Avenue looking quite slow as well. Now, if you're heading into Pietermaritzburg, get you an update on the N3 South. It's all clear. There was a couple of breakdowns near Town Hill earlier this morning, but they're out of the way. Major delays on the N2 with a crash northbound between Inanda Road and Queen Nandi, but it's equally heavy northbound driving into that and southbound coming down, having a look at it as well. And then Cape Town, a lot going on today. Franschhoek Pass between Franschhoek and Villiersdorp closed until 5 p.m. Chapman's Peak Drive will be closed from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. So you'll find yourself rerouted through Oakharpsweg, the busy main road is your alternatives. And of course the Sona Rehearsal closures going in from 3 p.m. into what will be a congested city centre anyway because of the major mining indaba that's underway. And that mining indaba just causing delays on the N1 inbound as you come off the highway into that sort of CTICC centre. N1 currently backed heavily from Belleville. In fact, there's a lot of traffic on all Cape Town's highways this morning. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Get Spar super savings at every store, in every aisle, every day. Buy 4 kg Spar IQF chicken, mixed portions, for $159.99. Save 50 Rand. Or 700 gram Spar pre-packed cheese for $89.99. Save 30 Rand. Now that's super savings. Price is valid from 9 till 22 February. While stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
What's with the camouflage, Doof? I'm going hunting. Just me, nature, and my most underrated off-roader, a rental car. Hunting? You could fit that little car in your backpack, Doof. I sit in the driver's seat. Baggage at the back, chairs on the roof. The kudu is going to get in and strap its own seatbelt, Savvy. Could do with more legroom, Doof. Go hunt for a new 4x4 at Weebuck Cars. They got great deals. Oh, shot, Savvy.
Don't be doof, be savvy. We buy cars geared for that big trip, geared for you.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yes, guys, there are these messages that come in on the WhatsApp line. Some of them you can tell someone is trying to needle and poke and provoke, and have said, 2026 is a different year. I'm unprovocable. But sometimes, I do need to interact with some issues that you do raise. This person, and I'm going to respond to them, says, yesterday you said on your lineup, you were going to speak to Mr. Soviet Lekhanyan of the ad hoc committee, which didn't happen. And this morning I've heard you say you are going to speak to Arnold Rankoko concerning scholar transport in Gauteng. Kanti usebenza njani Puti, this person is asking me. Let me explain that. It's early morning. A lot of people agree to taking interviews, not accounting for the fact that they also have busy lives at this time of the day. School run, you're getting ready for work, calls come in, We've had people who were out for a run, I'm talking about you, Steve Mabona, who were out for a run and then, now I must come back in time to take this call. So basically, this is my long way of saying things happen in the morning. And we try not to kick up dust when a guest can't make it, unless we start noticing a pattern. We've got people, by the way, that with whom we've noticed a pattern, and we just don't try anymore because we know this person will say yes to the interview. Come 6:30 in the morning, they're nowhere to be found. So that's how it works. With Rankoko, for example, Arnold Rankoko was replaced by another representative from the same organization. So that worked out well. But in some instances, we do battle, and we try to be kind and gracious to the people who, lend us their time in the morning, who make the effort to wake up. So we're not going to come on air and shame and embarrass them, unless, of course, they've earned it through their wayward behavior and are simply avoiding accounting to you. Right, enough about that. Let me go to the WhatsApp voice notes. Someone wants to talk about the national dialogue.
Thulas, good morning to you and to all the SAFM listeners. This is Kaya from the Eastern Cape. I was wondering, man, if what happened to the national dialogue, is it possible that we can check with the president or the spokesperson of the president in terms of whether the national dialogue is still on the cards or
Oh, no, it's very much on.
Thank you, Thulas from Eastern Cape.
Thank you. It's very much on. There's now a steering committee that has now taken over from remember the preparatory committees that were in place? Now there's a steering committee. The ANC at its NGC in December also recommitted to it. Trust me, national dialogue will feature tomorrow. I've not seen the speech, but I can tell you now, national dialogue will feature in this. It's one of those things that even if you wanted to retreat from it, so much has happened, you can't just suddenly drop it. So you've got to give it it's going to be there. I'm pretty sure of that.
Morning, Thulasizwe. This is Craig. Just this morning on Winnie Madikizela Drive in Johannesburg, I saw a lady in a police vehicle in peak hour traffic in civilian clothes driving her son to school. No business whatsoever, window wide open, looking around in civilian clothes. SAPS vehicle driving a son to school.
Yeah. No, you do experience that. I mean, I've seen it in places where you say, what possible business could this person have with a state vehicle at this time of the day or time of the night? Let me quickly take this one before I go.
Good morning, Bratulas. Mbongo Sundi Sambuisa. Bratulas, I think the members of parliament are really hostile towards Advocate Arendse. No, it's really not fair, man. Can they please treat him with respect as a belief? Thank you.
I hear you, Mbongo, but my take is that there's just general impatience with one another. I think I'll leave it there. I sense it on both sides. You're absolutely spot on. There is a certain impatience with him, but I also sense sometimes that he's also quite annoyed by them, but he has to sit there and there's a job to be done. So both sides could find a way to just get along. That's how we leave it. That's why we leave it this morning. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your robust engagement as always. The Talking Point with KJ Mweketsi is coming up next after the news at 9 a.m. with N. Musa. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
Thanks to us. In our top stories, Johannesburg residents protest over water outages and DJ Waras murder suspects back in court today. Good morning. Johannesburg is currently facing significant water outages, with many residents experiencing disruptions for over 2 weeks due to infrastructure failure. Residents from several areas, including Melville, Brixton and Parktown West, are protesting over the ongoing water outages and a lack of communication from Joburg Water and Rand Water. Protesters are calling for water to be restored immediately, as well as transparent communication regarding water supply in the city. Hermine Geldenhuys is a concerned Parktown West resident.
Today in Parktown West, we are standing on day 22, and the impact of it, as you can imagine, is huge. Life goes on. The world is happening around us, but it's like being